Chapter 318. Your Majesty, this has nothing to do with me. Professor Zheng, you have to have evidence before you speak. I have no grudges with you. So how could I do something so despicable? This doesn't make sense at all. Li Zishuan cried out his grievances. In any case, none of the courtiers knew that Cui Shanyu had impeached him in private. Furthermore, no one knew that Li Er had talked to him yesterday and practiced in advance. As long as he grasped these 2 points, he would be able to clear his suspicions. Of course, Li Er must have known about it, but old Li would not expose him. Yes, why would Li Sai do something like this for no reason? Yes, Zheng Zhanli is slandering us. Say, do you think this is just an excuse they made up? Actually, they really did eat it this morning. Li Zishuan's words were reasonable, and he was born with good looks, so it was easy for people to like him. As long as there was no conflict of interest with him, most people would believe what he said. Hearing the discussions of the courtiers, Zheng Zhanli almost vomited blood. He could almost hear his own heart breaking. What the F***CK? Where was the trust between people? Why did no one believe him when he spoke the truth? This Li Zishuan's move was ruthless. Zheng Zhanli could not think of any excuse to refute, so he could only swallow this loss silently. Your Majesty, no matter what, Cui Shanyu lost consciousness because of Li Sai. Your Majesty should give Cui Shanyu an explanation. At this moment, a middle-aged man in purple official robes walked out and bowed to Li Er. Hey, Uncle Cheng, who is this? Li Zishuan tugged at Cheng Yaojin and asked softly. It's the Chamberlain of Dependencies, Cui Shanfu. King hypocrite. Cheng Yaojin pursed his lips. Cui Shanfu? Li Zishuan's heart skipped a beat. Could this Cui Shanfu be related to Cui Shanyu in some way? Zhao Song, send someone to the Imperial Physician Department to ask about Cui Shanyu. Li Er thought for a moment and ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. Zhao Song accepted the order and left. Li Er then looked at Cui Shanfu and said, Minister Cui's words are not without reason. How about this? Li Sai's words were rude and caused Professor Cui to fall to the bed in anger. His salary will be deducted for 3 months. What do you think? Isn't this a little heavy? Yeah, Li Sai didn't do anything. As soon as Li Er finished speaking, some of the ministers who didn't know the truth all felt that Li Er's punishment was too heavy. Cui Shanfu, Zheng Zhanli, and Lu Yinyu, who were at the front, heard the discussions around them, and their faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. Your Majesty is wise. Cui Shanfu had been immersed in the officialdom for many years. He knew that if this matter continued, there would be no result. Instead, it would make Li Er unhappy. He could only cup his hands in agreement. Your Majesty is wise. Your Majesty is wise. Zheng Zhanli, Lu Yinyu, and the others cupped their fists in agreement. The other big shots in the imperial court were all watching coldly from the sidelines. They didn't care about such a small matter, and there was no need for them to stand up for anyone. Only Li Zishuan was cursing in his heart. As expected, this Cui Shanyu was not a good person. His heart was weak, and he fainted from anger, and he blamed it on him. He had taken so many precautions, but he didn't expect that he would still be blackmailed. It wasn't that he was unwilling to part with the 3-month salary. He just felt that his salary would be deducted by Li Er because of this trivial matter. Since there are no objections, then let's talk about Minister Lu and the others impeaching Li Zishuan. Li Er nodded in satisfaction and started talking about the important matter. When the ministers who were watching the commotion heard this, their eyes lit up. They knew that this was the secret that they didn't know. I've been impeached. Lord Lu, Lord Zheng, I've just arrived at the Imperial College and don't know the rules. If I've done anything inappropriate, please point it out to me. I'll definitely consider your opinions carefully. But why did the 2 of you? At this moment, Li Zishuan's face turned pale with fright. Then, he cupped his hands and said to Lu Yinyu and Zheng Zhanli with a panicked look. His aggrieved expression and fearful words were a living example of a newbie who had just entered the officialdom admitting his mistake to his seniors. This also attracted the sympathy of many people. They thought that Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhanli, and the others were using their seniority to bully the newbies in the Imperial College. Oomph. It was only then that Kong Yingdan knew that Cui Shanyu, Lu Yinyu, and the others had already impeached Li Zixuan behind his back. He snorted angrily and glared fiercely at these people. Lu Yinyu was a little flustered when he felt the malicious gazes around him. He wasn't the one who started the impeachment this time. Now that their backbone, Cui Shanyu, wasn't here, he was a little at a loss. Your Majesty, I think that this matter should wait until Professor Cui recovers from his illness. Lu Yinyu braced himself and said, Why? Isn't your name also on that secret memorial? Lier narrowed his eyes and asked, Your Majesty, this secret memorial was mainly written by Professor Cui. So, Lu Yinyu could hear the displeasure in Lier's tone, and he said fearfully, Your Majesty, the Imperial Physician Department's medical officer said that Cui Bo's morale has attacked his heart. Coupled with his advanced age, I'm afraid that he won't be able to get out of bed for at least 10 days after vomiting this mouthful of heart blood. At this moment, Zhao Song came in from outside and reported to Li Er with a bow. It's actually that serious? It looks like Professor Cui won't be able to come. What should we do? Behind him, Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyan, and the other doctors discussed in low voices worriedly. Go and get the Imperial Physician Department's medical officer to treat Cui Shanyu properly. Li Er instructed Zhao Song. Yes, Your Majesty. Since Minister Cui is unwell, then we'll discuss this impeachment after Minister Cui recovers. How about that? Li Er thought for a while, looked at Lu Yinyu and the others, and asked, Your Majesty is wise. Lu Yinyu and Zheng Zhanli heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly agreed. I didn't expect that my little trick would actually cause Cui Shanyu's long-planned impeachment to fail. What a pleasant surprise. Li Zixuan heard and thought happily in his heart. Then all officials, please report if you have something to report. If there's nothing, the court is dismissed. Li Er estimated that the time was about right. He heaved a sigh of relief and said, Court is dismissed. After waiting for a while and seeing that no one came out, Li Er decisively dismissed the court. The smell in Taiji Palace today was too pungent, and he couldn't take it anymore. Court is dismissed. The deacon eunuch beside the dragon table announced loudly, and the officials all bowed down. Farewell, Your Majesty. After Li Er left, the officials all left one after another. You rascal, you're really something. An impeachment that was set in stone was ruined by you. Not bad, ha. Outside the palace, Cheng Yaojin patted Li Zixuan's shoulder and laughed loudly. Chapter 319. Boss, if you ask me, those kids would be satisfied if you gave them 10 copper coins each. Why do you have to give them so much? In a small tavern in the East Market, a hooligan-looking young man said as he ate. What do you know? This time, the higher-ups gave us an extra 5 copper coins as a reward for our hard work. If we continue to embezzle and are discovered by the higher-ups, how can we get a share of such a good thing next time? The burly man opposite the young man happily took a sip of wine and said snappily. This person was Biaozi, who led a group of children to Cui Shanyu's house to shit in the morning. Biaozi was a hooligan in the southern part of Chong and City. He had more than 10 underlings under him. He was trustworthy and had no ambition, but he treated his own people very well. Therefore, his underlings were willing to follow him. If the rich had anything inconvenient to do, they liked to ask him to do it. Boss is wise. Boss is wise. The lackey hurriedly gave him a loud and clear flattery. You have good taste. But boss, who do you think came to us this time? Why would they make such a strange request? And the reward is so high. Is there something wrong with this person's brain? Another follower asked with a grin. Slap. There's something wrong with your brain? They have money, so they can do whatever they want. Why do you care so much? If they didn't give you money, you would still be begging on the streets. Biaozi was so angry that he slapped the underling's head. Boss is right. Boss is right. Xian, why did His Majesty let you attend the morning court today? Did something happen? After bragging to old Chung in front of the palace gate for a while and sarcastically ridiculing Lu Yinyu and the others, Li Zixuan happily returned home and met his father, who was full of worry. Li Zixuan's father did not know that Li Er had given Li Zixuan special treatment yesterday. In order to prevent his parents from worrying, Li Zixuan did not tell Li Jingma about Cui Shanyu and the others' impeachment. He only said that Li Er had asked him to attend the morning court today, but did not elaborate on the reason. However, Li Jingma was a shrewd person. He more or less guessed it, but since his son did not say it, he did not ask. "Father, it's nothing serious. It's just a few impeachments. I've already taken care of it." Li Zixuan laughed and said without care. As it turned out, apart from Cui Shanyu, the rest of the 8 professors from the Imperial College could not withstand a single blow. There was no need to worry his parents because of them. Impeachment? Who dares impeach my son? My Xian'er is conscientious in the Imperial College, working hard to cultivate talents for the Imperial Court. Why do they still want to impeach him? Madame Li, who had come with Father Li, said indignantly. Li Zixuan's face turned red from the praise. Conscientious and painstaking. Were they talking about him? Mother, it's okay. Those who can withstand the hardships of heaven are really men of iron. Those who are not envied are mediocre. I've done too well in the Imperial College, so it's inevitable that others will be jealous. Don't worry, His Majesty knows what I've done. He won't do anything to me because of those people. In order to reassure his parents, Li Zixuan threw caution to the wind and boasted of his own abilities. Brother, you're really thick-skinned. Lana ran over and made a shy face as she giggled. Hey, little girl, you're really asking for a beating? No. Li Zixuan pretended to hit her, and Lana was so scared that she ran all over the courtyard. Li Zixuan's parents looked at their children playing in the courtyard with a warm expression. They felt that it was really good to be together as a family. Good friend, are you all right? Imperial Physician Department. Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhangli, and the others, who had just finished the morning court, came to the Imperial Physician Department to visit Cui Shanyu. Oh, it's nothing serious. Yinyu, how was the court today? Did His Majesty punish Li Zixuan severely? With Zheng Zhanli's help, Cui Shanyu sat up and leaned against the headboard as he asked weakly. He was old, and his vitality was already weak. Cui Shanyu's vomiting of blood was really a big blow to his vitality. Brother Cui, His Majesty didn't discuss our impeachment of Li Zixuan during the morning court today? Lu Yinyu said submissively. What? How? Ahem. Brother Cui, calm down. His Majesty said that we'll discuss this matter separately after you recover. Your health is more important. You must take care. Cui Shanyu was so anxious that his blood rushed to his head, and he couldn't help but cough. Zheng Zhanli quickly patted his back and comforted him. Sigh, you guys don't understand. This time we could have caught Li Zixuan off guard, but we didn't expect this to happen. I can only blame myself for not being able to keep my composure. Sigh. As the saying goes, the first drum builds the spirit, the second will weaken, and the third will be exhausted. After this incident, Li Zixuan will be prepared. Next time, even if I fight him personally, I'm afraid that I won't be his match. Cui Shanyu said with a worried face. The others also understood that Cui Shanyu was telling the truth, and they couldn't help but feel frustrated. They secretly regretted not standing up for Cui Shanyu in the court. The room fell into silence. Fine. Yinyu, tell me in detail what happened in the Imperial Court today. Cui Shanyu sighed and accepted his fate. Okay, then I'll tell you in detail. Little Xian, I heard that you made Cui Bo of the Imperial Academy vomit blood today. Tell me about it. Yes. Sir, tell me quickly. Now many people in Chang and City are saying that a few doctors in the Imperial Academy ate sh*t. Is it true? In the afternoon, Chang Chimo, who was bored at home, and Li Yu, who came out to collect literature and find inspiration, came to the Li Mansion to look for Li Zixuan to play. In fact, they came to listen to Li Zixuan, the person involved, talk about the interesting incident that happened on Murky Lake in the morning. In the morning, There were so many people present, and the news of the doctors of the Imperial Academy 8sh*T had spread like wildfire. However, listening to others say it was more interesting than hearing it from Lisa Schwan, the person involved. Oh, this matter has spread like wildfire? Lisa Schwan raised his eyebrows in surprise. He really didn't know about this. Yes, it's been spreading for a long time. When I went to the workshop this morning, I heard people talking about it. Liu smiled sweetly. Hey, my father said that this matter must be caused by you, little Xian. Tell me honestly, how did you do it? Old Chung, want to try it in the future? Chung Chumo narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. Get lost. How can you say something like that? This matter has nothing to do with me at all. Lisa Schwan kicked Chung Chumo and said, Okay. If you say it has nothing to do with you, then it has nothing to do with you. Hurry up and tell us. Chung Chumo said with a smile. Okay, since you want to hear it, then I'll tell you. Oh, right, little you have to listen carefully. With a little editing, it can be good news material. Lisa Schwan rubbed his chin and said thoughtfully. Chapter 320. Wait, are you saying that Shui Shanfu interceded for me in front of His Majesty? Imperial Physician Bureau. Shui Shanyo's expression froze as he interrupted Lu Yinyu's narration. Yes, if not for Minister Chui, Lisa Schwan would not have received any punishment this time. Brother Shanyu would have been injured for nothing. Lu Yinyu lamented. That's great. Chui Shanyo's pale face suddenly flushed red as he excitedly muttered to himself. That's right, Lisa Schwan's salary will be deducted for 3 months. This can be considered as helping Brother Shanyu vent his anger. That's great. Lu Yinyu thought that he understood Chui Shanyo's meaning and echoed. Chui Shanyu shook his head and said, No more. Sir, you're so sarcastic. Professor Chui will probably be angered to death by you. Li Residence, West Courtyard. After listening to Li Zishuan's description, Liu was overjoyed as she covered her mouth and laughed. Li Zishuan's face darkened as he said angrily, What are you talking about? It's not my fault. I'm just concerned about Professor Chui. He's the one who's narrow-minded and misunderstood. Little Xian, you're so thick-skinned. Chung Chumo curled his lips. Get lost. No matter how thick-skinned it is, it's not as thick as yours. Li Zishuan threw a cherry at him and said angrily. There weren't many types of fruits in ancient times. Li Zishuan ate whatever he could get his hands on in the hot weather. It was worth mentioning that cherries were already available in the Western Zhou Dynasty, but they were only high-grade offerings for the imperial family and the emperor to worship the ancestral temple. Cherries were known as the #1 fruit. It was said that Orioles loved to peck on these fruits, hence the name Yingtao. In ancient times, cherries were often used by the emperor to reward important officials. Wang Wei, Han Yu, Zhang Ji, Bai Juyi, and the others were overjoyed and grateful after eating them. At that time, receiving a plate of cherries from the emperor was very honorable and could show one's status in the family. Although cherries were precious, and most of them were offered to the royal family as tribute, as the saying goes, money makes the world go round. The Li family was extremely wealthy, so it wasn't difficult for them to get some cherries to eat. Hey, how can you just throw away such a good thing? Chung Chumo mumbled as he caught the cherry flying towards him with one hand and threw it directly into his mouth. Li Zishuan didn't care about these things, but to him, it was a rare thing. Dee. At this time, there was a sudden dee sound coming from the inner room. Chung Chumo was surprised and immediately stuck his head out to look inside. Wow, what's ringing? You guys wait here for a while. I have something to do. Li Zishuan could not be bothered with him. He rushed into the room and began to record the telegram. Han Yushi, young master, are you there? Li Zishuan immediately replied. Yes, what's up? And didn't I tell you not to call me young master? Why did you forget again? A moment later, Han Yushi, I forgot, I'm sorry. Li Zishuan smiled and replied, It's fine, Yushi. Do you want to say something? Han Yushi, no. I'm just alone, and I can't help but let my imagination run wild. Li Zishuan, what are you thinking about? Han Yushi, I'm thinking, wondering if I'm not good enough for Big Brother Xiao Xian. Well, could this be the legendary premarital anxiety? Li Zishuan shook his head. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. After thinking for a while, he replied, "Silly girl, don't think too much. Have you heard any gossip recently? Don't care what others say. Whether I'm good enough for you or not is only up to me. Understand?" Han Yushi, Then big brother Xiao Xian, do you think I'm ugly? Li Zishuan was taken aback and said, I don't mind. When have I ever? Yushi, why do you ask? Han Yushi, sob. So you're saying that I'm ugly? F***CK. A modern man like me was tricked by an ancient girl? Li Zishuan looked at Han Yushi's reply and was stunned. Xiao Xian, are you sick? Why are you smiling and frowning at a metal box? Chung Chumo and Li Zishuan waited outside for a long time, but Li Zishuan did not come out. Instead, they heard beep, beep, beep sounds coming from inside. This guy was never a patient person. Although Li Zishuan did not let him in, he still sneaked in. You're the one who's sick. Li Zishuan really wanted to take a smelly sock and stuff this guy's mouth. He said unhappily, Hee. Then Xiao Xian, what are you doing? Looks like it's pretty fun. Chung Chumo was clear in his heart. He also knew that something that Li Zishuan cherished so much must be something good. So he said shamelessly, this is a telegraph. I'm sending a message to Han Yushi. Li Zishuan explained as he replied to Han Yushi. Sending a message? How do you send a message with this thing? Chung Chumo was shocked. It's through this beep, beep, beep. The different rhythms of the beep, 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 beep represent different characters. When combined, it becomes a letter. Chung Chumo would definitely not understand if it was difficult to explain, so Li Zishuan could only explain it in simple terms. Sir, were you making this telegraph when you were at Drunken Wind Pavilion in the workshop a few days ago? Li Yu heard the conversation inside and couldn't hold back her curiosity. She walked in and asked. During those few days when Li Zishuan was secluded in Drunken Wind Pavilion to study the telegraph, Faubert marked the pavilion as a forbidden area. Therefore, although Li Yu knew that Li Zishuan was in the workshop at that time, she didn't have the chance to greet him. Yes, that's right. Li Zishuan chatted with Han Yushi for a while, then turned around and said, That's not right. The Han family manor is more than 20 miles away from here. Xiao Xian, how can your telegraph transmit so far? Chung Chumo still had some brains, so he asked in puzzlement. What's impossible about that? Facts have proven that it can transmit so far. There is no need to explain electromagnetism to Chung Chumo. Even if he did, he wouldn't understand. Chung Chumo rolled his eyes and was speechless. Suddenly, he said excitedly, Xiao Xian, since this telegraph is so useful, why don't you give me one too? No way. Why? I have money. I can buy it with money. Chung Chumo stomped his feet. Go away. I don't care about your money. There are only 2 telegraph machines in the world. Where am I going to get you another one? Li Zishuan was so angry that he laughed. This guy actually had the nerve to show off his wealth in front of him. Then you can make me another one. Chung Chumo said unyieldingly. No, why do you have to have a telegraph machine? Who do you want to send messages to? Li Zishuan said impatiently. You, of course. With this, I won't have to come all the way here if I have something to do. What do you think? Chung Chumo said matter-of-factly. Scram. F***CKU. I'm not gay. Chapter 321. Sir, if this telegraph machine is modified, can it also be used in newspapers? In the future, people can use the telegraph machine to get the information in the newspapers. Li Residence West Courtyard. Li looked at Li Zishuan and Chung Chumo, who were fooling around for a while, and she suddenly came up with a suggestion. Little you are a genius. Your idea is very good. Li Zishuan's eyes lit up and exclaimed. What Li Yu said was almost the same as the modern wireless radio. Thinking about Chang Yaojin, Qin Xiong, Yuqi Jingda, and the other old men, holding a radio, listening to the radio, and bragging, TSK. This scene is quite interesting. Sir, do you think it is possible? But this telegraph machine can only make beep, beep, beep sounds, and we still need to spend a lot of effort to convert it into words. I'm afraid it will be very troublesome. When Li Yu heard Li Zishuan's approval, she was excited at first, but then she thought about the problem of translating the telegraph. The little girl held her chin and said with a bitter face, "Hee hee, this is not a problem. As long as we modify the basis of the telegraph machine, then we will not only be able to receive beep, beep, beep sounds, but we will be able to hear the other party's voice directly. There will be no need for a complicated conversion process," Lisa Schwann said with a relaxed smile. The telegraph machine that he was making now could only control the length of the sound according to the length of time when the current was off. But even so, it was already a huge improvement. Because of this process, it realized the purpose of using electricity and magnetic conversion to achieve the purpose of long-distance signal transmission. Imagine that if a loudspeaker was added to the terminal of the transceiver, then when the transceiver received a message, it would generate an AC audio current with a frequency corresponding to the original sound signal. When this current passed through the coil of the loudspeaker, also known as the voice coil in the loudspeaker, a corresponding magnetic field would be generated in the voice coil. This magnetic field would interact with the magnetic field generated by the permanent magnet on the loudspeaker. Therefore, this force will cause the voice coil to vibrate with the audio current in the magnetic field of the speaker. The diaphragm of the loudspeaker was connected to the voice coil, so the diaphragm also vibrated, and the vibration produced the same sound waveform as the original audio signal. This also realized the process of converting sound to current, and then from current to sound. Holy shit, this is awesome. This is awesome. With this thing, wouldn't he be able to transmit his voice from 1,000 miles away? Damn, this is almost the same as the magical equipment used by the immortals. Chung Chumo shouted excitedly, and his mouth was also full of dirty words. He was only short of shouting 666666666, which made Lisa Schwann quite speechless. If he didn't know better, he would have thought that this guy was from the modern era. You've seen an immortal before? Or have you used an immortal artifact? Lisa Schwann rolled his eyes and said grumpily, "Hee hee, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean I haven't heard of it. Little Xian, isn't it in the journey to the west that you told us earlier? Hurry up and make a telegraph machine that can transmit messages like you said just now. When the time comes, let me play with it." Chung Chumo rubbed his hands and chuckled. "Play with your head. I don't even have one myself. Where am I going to get one for you? Do you think it's so easy to make that thing? Anyway, I can't make it now." Lisa Schwann was speechless. It wasn't difficult to make a loudspeaker. As for the materials, it could be obtained with some effort. When he was in elementary school, he had made a simple loudspeaker himself. The raw materials used were very common, such as paper cups, copper wire, glue, small magnets, double-sided tape, scale ruler, scissors, etc. The manufacturing process was also relatively simple. The real difficulty of making a loudspeaker was the modulation and demodulation of the sound. Without this step, the loudspeaker could only produce irregular sounds, and it couldn't revert to a human's voice. It was still a piece of trash. However, the modulation and demodulation required the assistance of some external circuits. In this era, there were no resistors, capacitors, diodes, or triodes. Lisa Schwann could only express his helplessness. Tang Dynasty's scientific foundation was still too weak, and there were too few talents in this field. Sigh, if only I could groom a group of talents in the field of electricity. I don't expect them to invent a computer or television. Just a radio would suffice. When the time comes, I can fork out money to build a Tang Dynasty People's radio station and groom a group of broadcasting talents. That way, I would be able to listen to the radio at home. TSK. That way, my life in Tang Dynasty wouldn't be too boring. Lisa Schwann sighed in his heart. All along, the source of motivation for him to invent new things was just so that he wouldn't be too bored in the ancient era. As for strengthening the country, it wasn't within his scope of consideration. In his view, the current Tang Dynasty was already powerful enough, and there was no need for any additional technology. On the other hand, the entertainment in the Tang Dynasty was too lacking, and he needed to lead the way. "Mister, is this very difficult? Is it because you can't make it?" Li Yu understood the meaning behind Li Zexuan's words and asked in disappointment. "It's quite difficult." Li Zexuan clasped his hand behind his back and sighed. but that doesn't mean we can't do it. The main problem is that there are too few talents in this field in Tang Dynasty. Nowadays, all the scholars are studying the 4 books and 5 classics. Who would be willing to delve into this field? If I were to rely on myself, I'm afraid that it would be difficult to make it. Actually, the main problem was that this fellow was too lazy. If he were to harden his heart and go into seclusion for 2 months, coupled with his perverse mental strength, he might be able to solve the current technical problems. However, the problem was that he couldn't harden his heart. If he couldn't live a carefree life as a rich second generation, why should he work so hard on the front line of research? Previously, when Li Zixuan went into seclusion to build the telegraph machine in Drunken Wind Pavilion, he deeply felt how difficult it was to manufacture things without the foundation of modern industry. Now, he had a rough idea in his mind. That was, when the time was right, he would teach a group of disciples, specifically teaching them engineering and basic scientific concepts. He would let them explore and research on their own. He would be able to invent various scientific concepts under specific circumstances and make great discoveries. Wouldn't it be great to be an old grandpa who knew everything silently in the eyes of the world? For example, he could lead his disciples to conclude Newton's 3 laws through observation and experimentation and name them after himself, such as Zixuan's 3 laws. Also, he could use a hypothesis to propose the theory of the Big Bang and use his wisdom that far exceeded the times to propose that everything was made up of microscopic particles, such as molecules and atoms. Then, in the Tang Dynasty, he would mysteriously deduce the periodic table of the elements. Perhaps it would become a map of the mysteries of heaven that no one would be able to understand for thousands of years. Another example was that when he was at home taking care of his children, he would casually use a block of ice to carve a triangular prism. From there, he would discover that sunlight was made up of different colors and use it to explain the formation of rainbows. There were too many examples like this. He wanted to be the greatest scientist in the history of mankind. So how could he force himself to manufacture things every day? Li Zixuan's ideas were perfect, but they were just ideas. After he transmigrated, troubles came one after another, and he didn't have the time to realize his great dream. The only thing that was gratifying was that he had brought modern mathematics to this era, and there were already a group of children who could think in mathematics. One must know that mathematics was the most important foundation of engineering. If he were to vigorously develop engineering in the future, the current students of the School of Mathematics would definitely be his priority. Chapter 322. Li Residence West Courtyard. After hearing Li Zixuan's words, Cheng Chumo and Li Yu went silent. "Oh, I got it. Mister, you can teach this at the Institute of Mathematics. I believe there will be a lot of people willing to listen. For example, the King of Wei." Li Yu thought for a while and suddenly thought of an idea. "Hey, you really dared to think about it." Li Zixuan chuckled in annoyance. Among the 3 crimes that Shui Shanyu had accused him of, one of them was imparting knowledge without permission. Moreover, he had specifically criticized Li Tai. He didn't expect Li Yu to suggest such an idea. Li Zixuan took a sip of the wine and moistened his throat before continuing. "The 2 of you only cared about how unlucky Shui Shanyu was. I don't think you know that he and a few other professors accused me." "Ah, I was wondering why Professor Chui was so unlucky." "So he accused you?" Cheng Chumo scratched his head and said. His way of thinking was always different from other people. His words might even anger people to death. "Ha!" Li Yu was amused by his words. Li Zixuan stared at Cheng Chumo angrily and said to Li Yu, "Chui Shanyu, Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhanli, and 8 other professors from the Imperial College accused me of disrupting the teaching order, misusing pinyin, and teaching miscellaneous knowledge. I have led the King of Wei astray." "Huh? How could this be? If the King of Wei knew what they said, would he go after Professor Chui?" After being with Li Zixuan for so long, Li Yu was very familiar with the people around Li Zixuan. She knew that Li Tai was obsessed with the miscellaneous studies that Shui Shanyu and the others spoke of. Now that Shui Shanyu wanted to forbid Li Tai from learning this, if Li Tai were to find out, he might really go all out against Shui Shanyu. "Haha, after hearing what you said, it might be possible. I'll talk to Li Tai later. If he wants a fight, bring me along. Ching Chumo said happily. I think you're itching for a beating because you haven't been beaten by Uncle Chung recently. Li Zishuan stared at Ching Chumo and said to Li Yu, that's why what you said won't work. Plus, I can't give up on mathematics and teach other knowledge to the students. From my point of view, mathematics is also very important. Oh, what should I do? Li said with a bitter face Li Zishuan. After listening to Li Zishuan's description of the telegraph that could transmit sound, her heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. She couldn't wait to build that thing right now. After working at Tang daily for a few days, Liu loved the newspaper very much. If Li Zishuan's idea could really be built, the newspaper's influence would be even greater. Therefore, in this room, she was the one who put in the most effort to come up with ideas. Oh, there's no rush. As the saying goes, there's always a way out. There's always a way, Li Zishuan said leisurely while eating cherries. Liu looked at his leisurely manner and was speechless. Why did it feel like the eunuch was more anxious than the emperor? So, if you ask me, it wouldn't be so troublesome. It's very simple. Chung Chumo waved his hand and boasted shamelessly as he ate cherries in the air. Li Zishuan rolled his eyes, indicating that he didn't believe him at all. Liu, on the other hand, was very interested and asked, Oh, Brother Chonyo, what good idea do you have? Huh, then I'll say it. Chung Chumo put down the cherries and said seriously, Actually, Xiao Xian can resign from his position at the Institute of Mathematics and Mathematics. Then take in a dozen disciples and teach them that knowledge. Even if Professor Cui and the others know about it, they can't do anything to you. I can't do anything to you. After all, you're teaching your own disciple. You can teach them however you want, right? After they've all learned it, there'll be people who can research the telegraph that can transmit sound with you, right? What do you think? What do you think? Xiao Xian, does my idea make any sense? After Chung Chumo finished speaking, he moved his head closer and asked for credit. Li Zishuan's expression froze. He had to admit that although Chung Chumo was usually very unreliable, he had done a good job this time. Li Zishuan was a little tempted by this guy's idea. Sir, I think Chonyo's idea is feasible. What do you think? Seeing that Li Zishuan was in a daze, Li Yu asked, It's possible, but there are two problems. First, His Majesty had just appointed me as the minister of the Imperial College. If I were to resign, what would His Majesty say? Second, all the scholars have gone to study the 4 books and 5 classics to obtain scholarly honors. Where am I going to find more than a dozen disciples to teach me this knowledge? Li Zishuan rubbed his chin and asked, Hey, Xiao Xian, you're wrong. I don't have a solution to your first problem, but there's no need for you to ask your second problem. Although most of the scholars are studying the 4 books and 5 classics to obtain scholarly honors, the imperial court's admission rate is 1 in 100. There are countless scholars who failed the imperial examinations. How can everyone pass the imperial examinations? There will definitely be a lot of people who are willing to learn your knowledge that can earn them a lot of money. Haha, I don't know about other people, but in our Institute of Mathematics and Mathematics, the King of Wei and I will definitely be willing to learn from you. Chung Chumo seemed to be possessed by Zhuge Liang today. His analysis of the problem was clear and logical, but his last sentence exposed his true nature. Screw you. Why don't you pass your mathematics exam first? It's not like my knowledge can't be sold. Can anyone learn from me? If I remember correctly, you didn't pass this month's exam, right? Li Zishuan felt that what Cao Cao said made sense, but his mouth did not let him off. Cao, you still have the nerve to say that? If it wasn't because you didn't care about our brotherhood and didn't want to give me an extra point, I would have passed. Chung Chumo got angry when he mentioned this. He stood up and scolded Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan said, Haha, that's because you didn't live up to expectations. Who else can you blame? Teacher, then will this method work? Liu saw that the two of them were about to start bickering again. She quickly interrupted and brought the topic back to the main topic. Yes, it should work. Let me think about it carefully, Li Zishuan said seriously. Little Yu, don't worry. Since I can think of this, I will definitely be able to make it. Don't be anxious. Li Zishuan changed the topic and laughed. He was not stupid. He knew that Liu was very interested in the radio. That was why he teased her. Maybe he could let this little girl be a host in the radio station in the future. But as for the method of talent development, after this discussion, he was enlightened. It's just that there are some details that he still needs to think about. I'm not anxious. Teacher, you can continue with your work. I'll go back to the workshop first. Liu was a little embarrassed that her thoughts were exposed. She immediately ran away. Haha, don't forget about the news material that you are here to record today. Got it. Chapter 323. Early in the morning, everything was quiet. A ray of light appeared on the eastern horizon and carefully soaked the light blue sky. A new day was gradually moving in from afar. Li Zixuan, who had just finished his breakfast, sat in the carriage with Iron Egg and went to the Imperial College to attend school together. Selling newspapers. The freshly printed Tang Daily News. Today's headline. Shocking news. A dignified Imperial College professor actually ate sh*t? Is there a hidden story behind this? Or, on the way, as expected, they heard the voice of a newsboy selling newspapers. However, the words of today's newspaper seller were a little eye-catching. Sam Bao, help me buy a newspaper. Li Zixuan held back his laughter and ordered. Although he knew that little fishy would write about Cui Shanyu and the others eating sh*t yesterday, he was still very curious about what little fishy would write. Okay, young master, please wait a moment. After a while, San Bao came back with a newspaper. Young master, your newspaper. San Bao handed the newspaper into the carriage. Then he sat back in the driver's seat and continued to drive the carriage. Li Zixuan took the newspaper and jumped to today's headline. As expected, a very eye-catching headline greeted his eyes. Shocking news. A dignified Imperial College professor actually ate sh*t? Is there a hidden story behind this? Or, TSK, Little Fishy's articles are getting more and more professional. When Li Zixuan saw the headline, he felt as if he had returned to the modern era. He smiled knowingly. Iron Egg had also heard the advertisement from the newsboy outside. He had been itching for the contents of the newspaper. When he saw Li Zixuan pick up the newspaper, he also came over to take a look. More than 1,000 years ago, the king of Wu attacked the Yu Kingdom and was defeated by the Yu Kingdom. He died and Fu Chai succeeded the throne. After that, the king of Yu, Go Jian, heard that the Wu Kingdom wanted to build a navy. Go Jian ignored Fan Li's objection and attacked the Wu Kingdom. In the end, he was surrounded and defeated. Fu Chai captured Go Jian, and Fan Li secretly plotted to pretend to surrender. What's going on? Wasn't it going to write about Cui Shanyu eating sh*t? Why did he write about the king of Yu, Go Jian? What is little fishy trying to do? Li Zixuan looked at the beginning of the news and was a little confused. He wondered if there was a problem with the printing department. Looking at Iron Egg, who was also in a state of confusion, Li Zixuan calmed down and continued reading. When Go Jian was captured, in order to gain Fu Chai's trust, he did everything he could to curry favor with him. One day, when Fu Chai was sick, he needed to check his bowel movements. In order to diagnose Fu Chai's illness, Go Jian personally tasted Fu Chai's bowel movements. Fu Chai was very touched. He finally let down his guard against Go Jian and let him go. After 3 years of humiliation, Go Jian returned to his country and worked hard to build up his country. With the help of the Yu people, he was able to build up his courage. He wanted to strengthen Yu country. Once, when Fu Chai went to attend a meeting in another country, he asked the Prince of Yu to lead troops to support him. Go Chan saw that the time had come. Kill the crown prince, capture Fu Chai, and destroy the state of Wu. In ancient times, the king of Yu, Go Jian, personally tasted sh*t. Today, the Imperial College's Professor Cui Shanyu and the others are eating sh*t before the meeting. What is the secret behind this? Let's listen to our reporter, Little Fishy, in detail. Li Zixuan laughed when he saw this. He did not expect Li Yu to be able to quote from the classics. It was really 666,666. This way, the news section also had a hint of culture. Here, Iron Egg, take your time to read it. I will take a break. Li Zixuan was too lazy to read the rest of the story. He just did not know if Cui Shanyu and the others would come after him after reading today's news. Yes, master. Iron Egg took the newspaper and went to another sofa to read it alone. Iron Egg, follow Sanbao and paste this on the wooden board. In front of the mathematics school, Li Zixuan took out a piece of red paper and a piece of black paper and gave them to Iron Egg. Today, he purposely arrived 30 minutes early so that he could paste the honor roll and shame roll before the students arrived. Yes, master. Iron Egg took the paper silently. He was still worried that he did not get first place in the monthly test. TSK not bad. One is on the red list and the other is on the black list. The contrast is very clear. After 15 minutes, Li Zixuan looked at the honor roll and shame roll and said with satisfaction, Young master, why does Sanbao feel that the black list is very ugly? Why is there a flower on the red list and the black list is? Sanbao scratched his head and said hesitantly. He seemed to have encountered something difficult and could not say it out loud. It's a pile of shit, right? Li Zixuan said it for Sanbao. He asked Ma Zhou to make the red list and black list. Other than being good at calligraphy, Ma Zhou was also good at painting. That pile of shit was really vivid. Li Zixuan designed it not only to warn the students on the shame roll, but also to make fun of them. Yes, Sanbao said awkwardly. Haha, so what if it's a pile of shit? Haven't you heard that the king of you ate shit? Oomph. These people dare to be in the last 5. They should be prepared to be in the company of shit. Li Zixuan snorted and left in a huff. Isn't that Mister's carriage? Why are you here so early today? Sun Ziffin said in surprise. Hey, Ziffin, look. The empty honor roll and shame roll plaques have something pasted on them today. Yu Donkai pulled Sun Ziffin's sleeve and exclaimed, Damn, don't tell me the monthly test results are out. Sun Zifan's face was full of panic. His legs were somewhat soft. This guy was scared, The last time his father beat him up, it was still deeply imprinted in his heart. Damn, it shouldn't be that bad, right? Little brother, I think I did pretty well this time. Yu Donkai heard and felt a little guilty. He prayed in his heart that he would not be so unlucky. Why are you thinking so much? Why don't we go and take a look? I don't believe that I will be in the shame roll. Kong Chuansuan said from behind. With his head held high, he headed straight for the honor roll and the shame roll. He was extremely confident. Damn, you're awesome. Donkai, let's go take a look. Sun Ziffin gave a thumbs up to Kong Chuansuan's back, then dragged Yu Donkai over as well. But when they got close, they saw Kong Chuansuan's dazed expression, as if he had eaten feces. Sun Ziffin was stunned. What's going on? Is there something wrong with the roll? He looked at it in disbelief. Of course, he was looking at the shame roll. He saw a big pile of feces at the top of the black roll, and below it was written, first from the bottom, Kong Chuansuan. Huffed. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. Ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. Sun Ziffin could not hold it in anymore and laughed out loud. Not only did Kong Chuansuan's expression look as if he had eaten feces, but his name on the honor roll was Eating Feces. It was too damn funny. He did not know where his confidence came from, but he was the first to rush over to see the roll. Ha ha ha. Kong Chuansuan, why is your name under that pile of feces? Ha ha, it's like eating feces. The roll of shame that Mr. created is really fun. Yu Donkai glanced at it and did not see his name on it. He could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Then, he realized the joke and laughed gloatingly. Although he only scored 18 points this time, there were still people who scored worse than him. Hence, he was lucky enough to escape and was ranked 6 from the bottom. Get lost. I'll fight it out with you. Kong Chuansuan was almost angered to death. He roared and was about to fight with his life. Chapter 324. TSK, you guys are really embarrassing. 5th from the bottom. Haha, you guys can't even compare to me, old Chung. Now you guys are going to eat **T? Wahahaha. Chung Chumo leisurely walked to the entrance of the mathematics school. He already knew his score, so he wasn't worried that he would be on a roll of shame. He held 2 yellow persimmons in his hand and said to the dejected students below the roll of shame, Cough, cough, it's time to eat persimmons. Needless to say, there were definitely persimmons in the Tang Dynasty. In the Book of Songs written around 1100 BC, there were already records of persimmons in the area chapter, and in the Book of Rites chapter, persimmons were also listed as a precious food. Chow, Chung Chumo, you want to fight again? Tian Yu, Wenba, Wang Ming, Gao Han, follow me and beat him to death. Kong Chuansuan was already angered by Sun Zifan and Yu Dongkai. Now that he heard Chung Chumo's sarcasm, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He immediately rolled up his sleeves and was about to fight. Yes, beat this idiot to death. Everyone's results are about the same. Why isn't he on a roll of shame? Yes, there's a conspiracy. I strongly demand Chung Chumo to be on a roll of shame too. Beat him up first, then we'll look for the teacher. Chung Chumo's mouth immediately stirred up a hornet's nest. In a blink of an eye, he was about to be beaten up. Damn, Song Tianyu, you dare to doubt the teacher's fairness? Let me tell you, the reason why I scored higher than you guys is because I'm smarter than you guys. If you guys are like this, you guys will still be on the roll of shame next month. As the saying goes, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Although Chung Chumo knew Kung Fu, he couldn't possibly use Kung Fu to fool around with his classmates, right? Thus, this guy ran away, and he even ran while shooting his mouth off. Chow, Chung Chumo, don't run if you have the guts. You're too despicable. Don't let me catch you. Who told you to run? I'll beat you to death. Ouch. F***CK. Don't F***King cross the line. Chung Chumo was unfortunately shot. He tried to put on a brave front. This time, Meng Wenhao is number one again. This is too shocking. Zheng Ziren looked up at the honor roll and exclaimed, yes, could Meng Wenhao be considered to have been well prepared? He actually got first place twice in a row. Qin Huayu sighed. His results were very stable and had always been in the upper middle class. He could not compare with the people in front of him. After all, he had studied Orthodox Confucianism before. It was already very good that he could maintain his results in the upper middle class after suddenly transferring to the School of Mathematics. But why is Meng Wenhao's score 103 points? The full score for this exam is only 100 points. Don't you find it strange? Ku Shurqing said with a frown. Yes, it's really strange. Could it be that Sir has made a mistake? Zheng Ziren also reacted and echoed. When Sir first came, he gave us a question in the first class. He said that whoever did the best would get extra points for the monthly exam. Didn't Meng Wenhao get first place at that time? Maybe it's because of this. Li Tai said after thinking for a while. Li Tai guessed correctly. When Li Zishuan gave the report card to Ma Zhou yesterday, he suddenly remembered that he had promised to give Meng Wenhao extra points for the monthly exam. After so long, he almost forgot, so he changed Meng Wenhao's score from 101 points to 103 points. That's not right. If I remember correctly, that only adds 2 points. Even if Meng Wenhao didn't lose any points in the monthly exam, it's impossible for him to get 103 points. Hey, isn't that Meng Wenhao? Why don't we just ask him? Meng Wenhao had just arrived when he was pulled over by Ku Shurqing and the others. He greeted his classmates one by one and asked them what they wanted. Wenhao, why is your monthly exam score 103 points? Even if you add the extra points for the extracurricular question in the first class, it can't reach 103 points. Zheng Ziren was more straightforward. So he didn't beat around the bush and said directly. Meng Wenhao heard and looked up at the honor roll. Even though he already knew that he was first place this time, when he saw the first name under the big red flower with his own eyes, he couldn't help but feel excited. Oh, so it's about this. It's like this. Sir felt that I answered the last question of the monthly exam better this time. So he gave me another point. Meng Wenhao said with some embarrassment. Wow, that's amazing. How is that possible? Right? Wenhao, how did you know all this? Zheng Ziren asked. The others also looked over curiously. They didn't question Li Zishuan's fairness. After being together for so long, they understood and admired Li Zishuan's knowledge and character. To be honest, after the exam, I felt a little uneasy. The day before yesterday, I went to Sir's house to check on my results. That's why Sir told me all this. Meng Wenhao scratched his head and answered. I see. Ha, No matter what, congratulations, Wenhao. The rewards for this monthly exam are very generous. Eat as much as you want at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. I'm so envious. Kushirqing smiled and cupped his hands. That's right. Congratulations to Wenhao. Right? Wenhao, is your family still short people? Why don't I be your older brother or something? I can also go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant with you for a meal. Zheng Ziren didn't know that Meng Wenhao's monthly exam reward had been redeemed in advance. Ziren is right. I can also be Wenhao's older brother. Kushirqing agreed. I'm sorry about that. I already ate at the Drunken Immortal restaurant with my family the day before yesterday. Meng Wenhao said awkwardly. So fast. Well, because my father's going to go out to sea with the Imperial Army, I wanted to invite him to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for a meal before he goes out to sea. Fortunately, Sir is reasonable and agreed to my unreasonable request. After Meng Wenhao finished, he couldn't help but look to the south. He sighed in his heart. Sigh, I don't know how my father is now. Did he run into any trouble? Is he safe? Wenhao, don't worry. Your father will be fine for sure. Commandery Prince Hejian is very experienced in naval battles. This time, the fleet has the compass and detailed sea chart provided by Sir, so the safety of the fleet is guaranteed. The possibility of an accident is very low. Li Tai knew what Meng Wenhao was worried about. He patted Meng Wenhao's shoulder and comforted him. No one would have thought that the Prince of Wei also knew how to comfort others. Yes, Qin Ke is right. Wenhao, you don't have to worry. Uncle will definitely be fine. Yes, Wenhao, you should trust Sir's compass. The fleet going south this time will be fine. Yes, Wenhao, you have to think positively. Qin Huaiyu, Kushirqing, and Zheng Ziren were not people who lacked EQ, so they all comforted him. Thank you, thank you. Meng Wenhao felt much better in his heart. He sincerely thanked him. Clang, clang, clang. Okay, class is starting. Let's go. At this moment, the gongs and drums sounded, and the students started running to the classroom. Chapter 325. Well, all of you have received the test papers for this month's exam. You should know how you did, so I won't read them out one by one. I hope that everyone can learn from the students on the honor roll and keep a distance from the students on the shame roll. This month, the cleaning of the mathematics school will be handed over to Kong Chuansun, Song Tianyu, Duan Wenba, Guang Gaohan, and Wang Meng. Every day after school, you must stay behind to clean the school carefully. If I find out that you are half-hearted, then you will continue to clean the next month. Do you hear me? Mathematics school. Li Zishuan stood on the podium and announced the results of this month's exam. To be honest, he was very satisfied with the current mathematics school. To be honest, any student in the mathematics school was qualified to be a bookkeeper. After all, Li Zishuan taught them the modern counting and calculation methods, which were much more advanced than the current era's counting and calculation methods. Understood. Hearing the second half of Li Zishuan's sentence, Kong, Chuansun, Song Tianyu, Wang Meng, and the rest of the students on the roll of shame weakly responded. Then their faces flushed red, and they wished they could crawl into a hole in the ground and hide in it. They swore in their hearts that they would study hard every night for the rest of the month. They absolutely could not be on the roll of shame again. This month's exam's first place, Meng Wenhao, was rewarded with a free meal at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Due to special reasons, this reward was honored the day before yesterday. Everyone knows that I'm rich. If you want to eat until I'm poor, then work hard to get first place. Li Zishuan said, half-jokingly. The students let out a burst of good-natured laughter. They also knew that it was impossible to eat until Li Zishuan's family became poor. Okay, then let's start the class. Today, we will talk about this month's exam papers. Poochie. Li Zishuan was halfway through his speech when a strange poochie sound came from the back of the school. Everyone couldn't help but turn their heads to look. Damn, Ching Chumo, you are so disgusting. You actually shit in front of everyone in class. Ugh, I can't take it anymore. Sun Zifen was the first to find the source of the sound. He saw an unknown yellow object on Chung Chumo's chair. Thinking about the strange poochie sound, Sun Zifen immediately concluded that Cheng Chumo was defecating in front of everyone. Damn, it stinks. Cheng Chumo, you're too disgusting. Ugh, Cheng Chumo, you're disgusting. I can't take it. Hearing Sun Zifen's scolding, the students in the school exploded. Regardless of whether they smelled the stench or not, they all began to criticize Cheng Chumo. Some of the students who were close to Cheng Chumo looked in the direction of Sun Zifen's finger and saw the yellow object. They quickly covered their mouths and noses and fled in all directions. Even Iron Egg and Qin Huayu, who were usually very close to Cheng Chumo, also frowned and left their seats. Damn, Sun Zifen, you brat. You dare to slander me. This is not shit. It's the persimmon that I brought today that fell on the chair and broke. Cheng Chumo stood up and angrily explained, I definitely can't take the blame for this. If other people knew that he shit in front of everyone in class, then how can I, Cheng Chumo, have the face to mingle in Chong in city circle of playboys in the future? Bullshit, that is obviously shit. Cheng Chumo, you still want to lie? Sun Zifen pinched his nose and retorted, yes, that clearly looks like shit. Cheng Chumo, you can stop quibbling. Ugh, so disgusting. You must have eaten something dirty in the morning and then had a stomachache just now, so your shit jumped out. Ugh, Dong Kai, don't say any more, it disgusts me to death. Cheng Chumo's explanation was obviously feeble and weak, and the surrounding students expressed their disbelief. Damn, it's really a persimmon, not shit. If you don't believe me, then I'll eat it for you to see. Cheng Chumo was anxious. In order to prove his innocence, this guy didn't care about anything else. He picked up the yellow object on the chair and stuffed it into his mouth. Ugh, damn. Not only did you shit in front of everyone, you actually ate shit in front of everyone. Cheng Chumo, I misjudged you. From now on, I, Sun Zifen, will not recognize you as a brother. Sun Zifen was stunned for a moment, and then quickly retched. From the beginning, he thought that the yellow object was shit. At this time, when he saw Cheng Chumo eating that thing in front of everyone, the visual impact was quite strong, and of course he couldn't stand it. Ugh, God, I heard that 8 doctors in our Imperial College ate shit before the morning assembly yesterday. I didn't expect that a student would eat shit today. What's wrong with our Imperial College? Some students saw this scene and immediately associated it with today's headlines on the Tang Daily. Ugh, I can't stand it. Sir, please do something about it. Faced with this situation, Cheng Chumo was a little dumbfounded. He explained while eating, damn, Sun Zifen, don't talk nonsense. This is really a persimmon. If you don't believe me, come and taste it. It's sweet. Why don't you think about it? How can I, old Cheng, eat shit? Look, I, old Cheng, brought 2 persimmons this morning. One is broken, and the other is still fine. Take a look. Cheng Chumo said, and took out an intact persimmon from the desk drawer and showed it to everyone. Is that thing really a persimmon and not shit? It should be. Lu Wugong's family is not poor to the point that Cheng Chumo eats shit, right? Cheng Chumo's efforts were not in vain, and there were still many people who believed his words. Ahem, Chumo, I just picked up a persimmon in front of the school. It should be you who dropped it, right? Li Zixuan smiled and took out a yellow persimmon from his clothes and said somewhat mischievously, silence. The classroom suddenly fell into a strange silence. Cheng Chumo was stunned. Since the persimmon in Li Zixuan's hand was dropped by him, then what was the yellow object on the bench? Damn, Cheng Chumo, I almost believed you. Ugh, so you were really eating shit. I remember now. This morning, I saw the youngest son of Assistant Instructor Mu of the 4-gate school come to our school. Chumo, the shit on your bench, could it be that child's poop? Wang Ming tactfully added. Li Zixuan looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. He thought to himself, this child is really wicked. Ugh, damn, Wang Ming, why didn't you say so earlier? Ugh, get out of the way. Damn it, I can't take it anymore. Cheng Chumo was immediately dumbfounded. He roared in grief and indignation, then staggered a few steps and ran out to vomit. Puff! Ha ha ha! I didn't expect Cheng Chumo to be so gullible. Wang Ming saw this and laughed loudly. Damn, Wang Ming, you're awesome. So you were lying. Huh, I thought it was true. Ha ha. The rest of the students heard the conversation between the two and reacted. They laughed and observed a moment of silence for Chung Chumo, who was vomiting outside. Li Zixuan shook his head. The persimmon he took out was, of course, not from Chung Chumo, but from home in the morning. He just wanted to tease Chung Chumo. Chapter 326. Half an hour later, the farce in the School of Mathematics was finally over. Li Zixuan also started his class, but Chung Chumo's eyes seemed a little unfriendly. Wasn't that obvious? After being pranked by him, it would be strange if Chung Chumo was friendly. If it weren't for the fact that they were in the wrong place, perhaps Chung Chumo would have already rushed over to fight him. After such a delay, there was only half an hour left for the first class. However, Li Zixuan still managed to finish the monthly exam in this short time. This was mainly because the questions this time were really simple. Although there were many pitfalls in the questions. After Li Zixuan wrote down the correct answers, many people immediately realized that they had fallen into a pitfall. For the last question, we can analyze how much money Mr. Wong lost in the end based on the most basic relationship between gains and losses. First, let's analyze Boss Wong and his neighbor. Boss Wong first gave the neighbor a fake golden bean in exchange for 1,000 copper coins. The value of the fake golden bean was 0, so Boss Wong now earned 1,000 copper coins from the neighbor. Later, the neighbors found out that the golden beans were fake, so Boss Wong compensated the neighbors with a real golden bean. Now, Boss Wong paid 1,000 coins, plus the 1,000 coins he earned previously, so Boss Wong didn't lose any money from the neighbors. So, the only thing left is the money he lost from the young people. So, there are two answers to the last question. One is 970 coins, and the other is 1,000 coins. Among all of you, only Meng Wenhao wrote down both correct answers, so I give him an extra point. Clang, clang, clang. Li Zixuan had just finished the last question when the drum and gong sounded. Okay, class dismissed. Li Zixuan didn't have the habit of dragging the class. After accurately throwing the chalk into the chalk box, he clapped his hands and directly walked out. Even though he had left, many students from other academies had come to watch the show out of admiration. The School of Mathematics was located in the southernmost part of the Imperial College. It was also the closest to the gate of the Imperial College. Today, the honor roll and the shame roll in front of the School of Mathematics were particularly eye-catching. Most of the students who came to school in the morning saw it when they entered the Imperial College, but because they were in a hurry to go to class, they didn't come to take a closer look. Now that class was over, a bunch of people came to watch the fun. Honor roll? Awesome. I heard that the School of Mathematics would have an honor roll, but I didn't expect them to really do it. It would be great if my name could be on it. Come on, if you go to the School of Mathematics with your grades, you'll definitely be on the shame roll. Bullsh asterisk T. Prince Wei is on the roll. That's awesome. Yeah. I've always heard that Your Highness Duke of Wei is extremely intelligent. I didn't expect Your Highness to still be so impressive after going to the School of Mathematics. Exactly. Who is this Meng Wenhao? How come I've never heard of him? How'd he got first? That is, Meng was Meng's was Meng Meng's Meng. Meng was Meng. Meng was Meng? You how Meng. You how you. That's that Meng, huh? Is that true? Ingjia, you must have remembered wrongly. When have I ever mocked others? Below the honor roll, a group of students pointed at the names on it in disgust. They could only express their admiration for the genius on it. TSK. Yinfuluk. In less than a month, the School of Mathematics went from the bottom of the 6 imperial colleges to the center of everyone's attention. Li Sai is awesome. Yuan Shuo and Chu Yinfu came later and could only watch from the periphery of the crowd. Yeah, but Li Sai's knowledge is also outstanding. Otherwise, the School of Mathematics wouldn't have stood out so quickly. I heard that Prince Wei was attracted to the School of Mathematics by Li Sai's self-created new mathematics. Chu Yinfu sighed as he looked up at the honor roll with his hands behind his back. Why? Yinfu, are you thinking of going to the School of Mathematics too? Yuan Shuo joked. Sigh. Chu Yinfu shook his head and sighed. I just don't want to stay in the Imperial College anymore. Yuan Shuo, You should know about Professor Chui's matter, right? Yuan Shuo was stunned and nodded. Yinfu, are you talking about today's headlines on the Tang Daily? Chu Yinfu replied, yeah, but that's not all. It said that Professor Chui and the others secretly impeached Li Sai for disrupting the teaching order, abusing pinyin, and privately imparting miscellaneous knowledge. Li Sai's contributions to the Institute of Mathematics and the Imperial College are obvious to all. Yet, academician Chui and the others have secretly impeached him for their own interests. They are indeed unethical. Moreover, after the Tang Dynasty Daily is published today, academician Chui and the others will definitely have a bad reputation. I don't want to associate with them. Yuan Shua's expression turned serious. Yinfu's analysis makes sense. What should we do? Well, I have to go back and ask my father before making a decision. Imperial Physician Department. Madame Chui brought food to Professor Chui. Then, she carefully helped her husband up and brought the food over. Old master, come and eat. Yes, thank you, madam. Chui Shanyo's heart warmed. He took the bowl and chopsticks with a smile and began to eat breakfast. His breakfast was also very simple. It was porridge, steamed buns, and a dish of oxalis, a variant of mustard, which was first introduced into China from mud. Chui Shanyu took his time to enjoy the not-so-sumptuous breakfast. Madame Chui, who was watching from the side, was somewhat hesitant to speak. Old master, oh, what's wrong? Madam, if you have something to say, just say it. Chui Shanyu frowned and asked. Madame Chui hesitated for a moment and said, Old master, this morning, in front of our house, there were many. Chui Shanyo's face darkened. A lot of feces? Yes. Madame Chui nodded. Bang. Chui Shanyu fiercely threw the bowl of rice on the table beside the bed and said fiercely, Outrageous. These people are simply too much. In a while, you go to Wuhou government and report to the officials. The next time these people come to cause trouble, I guarantee that they won't be able to return. Yes, old master. On the way here, I also heard a discussion about you, old master. Chui Shanyu suddenly had an ominous premonition. He hurriedly said, What discussion? Say it quickly. This. Old master, you should see it yourself. This is what I bought on the way here. Look at today's headlines. Madame Chui took out a newspaper from her bosom and handed it to Chui Shanyu awkwardly. Chui Shanyu's eyebrows jumped. He took the newspaper with a guilty conscience. He was very familiar with the distribution of the various sections of Tang Daily, so he skipped the front and went directly to the news section. He saw a very eye-catching headline. Shocking news, a dignified Imperial College doctor actually ate shit? Was there a hidden story behind this? Or, pooh, how dare you bully me? Just as he finished reading the headline, Chui Shanyu felt a burst of anger attack his heart. His qi and blood surged. Adding to the fact that he had not recovered from his illness, it was equivalent to adding frost to snow. His body immediately could not bear it, and he spat out a mouthful of old blood. Old master, are you all right? Someone come quickly. Chapter 327. Li Zixuan naturally did not know that Dr. Chui had vomited blood again. However, even if he knew, he would not have any sympathy. Now, he had encountered a new problem. He had already taught half of the first book he had written. He estimated that in another month, the student's mathematical ability would be able to advance from first semester of first grade to second semester of first grade. In less than a month, he had finished half a semester's worth of courses. Perhaps some people would think that this progress was too fast. Actually, it wasn't fast because the students in the School of Mathematics only took one class every day. Of course, it couldn't be compared to modern teaching progress. Then the question was, after a while, would Li Zixuan need to write another mathematics textbook for the second semester of the first grade? Although the ancient school system couldn't be compared to the modern school system of kindergarten, primary school, junior high school, and university, it still formed a relatively complete school system during the Western Zhou Dynasty. According to the Book of Rites, Shueji, entering the school on a yearly basis and taking the examination at the middle of the year. 1 year to discern the deviations from the scriptures, 3 years to see the dedication to the work of music, 5 years to see the study of one's own teacher, 7 years to see the study of one's own friends, 9 years to see the understanding of one's own kind, standing strong and not opposing. This is called the Great Achievement. In other words, they would be admitted once every year and tested once every other year. 1 year of observation was to distinguish one's ambition. 3 years of observation was to see if one was attentive and close to classmates. 5 years of observation was to see if one was knowledgeable and close to teachers. And 7 years of observation was to see if one had independent opinions and the ability to choose friends. If all of these were achieved, it would be a small achievement, which meant that one had grasped the basic knowledge and skills. If one could comprehend by analogy and be strong and independent without violating the teachings of the teacher by 9 years, it would be a great achievement, which meant that one's studies had reached a mature level. During the Tang Dynasty, the Imperial College began to clearly define the age of the students and the length of their studies. For example, the School of Law accepted students between the ages of 18 and 25, and the length of their studies was 6 years. The exams were divided into 3 categories: the weekly exam, the annual exam, and a graduation exam. The weekly exam was based on the courses learned within 10 days, and those who failed would be punished. The annual exam was based on the courses learned within a year, and those who failed would be retained. If one passed the graduation exam, one would be qualified to take the imperial examination, and those who failed would be expelled. Li Zixuan's School of Mathematics used to have a similar system to the School of Law, but ever since he came, the system of the School of Mathematics had been changed beyond recognition. Li Zixuan dared to make such a change because although the ancient school system had been perfected since the Western Zhou dynasty, there were no clear and rigid rules regarding the teaching materials used by teachers, except for some Confucian classics. This gave Li Zixuan a lot of autonomy in teaching. All right, that's all for today's lesson. In the afternoon, you guys should review the content I taught and do the questions I left behind. No plagiarism. If there's still time, let's preview the next chapter, Scores. We'll learn this tomorrow. Li Zixuan estimated that the class was about to end, so he decided to end the class early. Anyway, he had already finished what he wanted to teach today, so there was no point in teaching anymore. Oh, class is over. As long as one was a student, there wasn't anyone who didn't like to end the class. Being able to end the class early made them even happier. The students began to pack their things and prepare to go home or to the directorate's canteen to eat. Li Zixuan clapped his hands and directly left. He usually didn't bring his teaching materials with him when he went to class. Everything he wanted to teach was stored in his head. There was no helping it. Having a good memory was just that awesome. Cough, cough. Unfortunately, he met Kong Yingda when he left the classroom. Li Zixuan shrunk his neck. As a student, he liked to end the class early. But as a teacher, he was afraid that he would be caught by the principal if he ended the class early. Chancellor Kong, is there something you need? Li Zixuan originally wanted to talk nonsense with Kong Yingda and ask him if he had eaten, but after thinking about it, he felt that Kong Yingda would definitely slap him twice if he said that, so he hurriedly changed his words. Kong Yingda glanced at the noisy classroom behind Li Zixuan and wanted to say something, but stopped. After a moment, he turned around and said, "Li Sai, follow me." After saying that, he took the lead and left. Li Zixuan was at a loss. He didn't know what Kong Yingda meant, so he muttered a few words and followed him. "Have a seat." After arriving at the principal's office, Kong Yingda sat down and nodded to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan cupped his hands and didn't stand on ceremony. He sat opposite Kong Yingda and waited for Kong Yingda to continue speaking. "Li Sai, have you read today's newspaper?" After waiting for a while, Li Zixuan didn't take the initiative to ask, so Kong Yingda could only take the initiative to ask. "As expected, you're here to settle scores." When Li Zixuan heard this, he roughly guessed the reason why Kong Yingda called him over today. He was very unhappy. When Cui Shanyu and the other professors jointly impeached him, Kong Yingda didn't stand out to help him. Now, he only retaliated a little, and Kong Yingda immediately stood out to speak for Cui Shanyu and the others. This really made Li Zixuan bitterly disappointed. I roughly read some, but I don't know which part Chancellor Kong is talking about. Li Zixuan pretended to be confused and said indifferently, "Did you instruct the Tang Daily's editorial department to write today's headlines?" Kong Ingda was a little angry. "So what if I did? So what if I didn't?" Li Zixuan narrowed his eyes and said casually. He was usually an easygoing and good young man who respected the old and loved the young, but it didn't mean that he liked to be bullied. He had gradually lost his patience with Kong Ingda's obviously biased behavior. Bang! What kind of attitude is this? Kong Ingda slammed the table and suddenly stood up. He pointed at Li Zixuan and said angrily. Li Zixuan was not afraid at all. He looked at Kong Ingda without blinking. After a while, Kong Ingda took a few deep breaths and said with a slightly gentler tone, "I know that you were a little angry about what happened in the imperial court yesterday. Cui Shanyu has been dissatisfied with you for a long time and has complained about you to me many times. However, I naturally have a balance in my heart. I know that he was only blinded by greed, so I reprimanded him. I also didn't expect that he would work with the other 7 professors of the Imperial College to directly impeach you behind my back. I'm also very angry about his behavior. However, no matter what, Cui Shanyu and the others are still professors of the Imperial College. By writing this in the newspaper, not only will you ruin their reputation, you will also smear the reputation of the Imperial College. Do you know? Chancellor, your words are wrong." Li Zixuan refuted in a low voice. "Chancellor, maybe you didn't read today's headlines carefully. The news compared Professor Cui and the others to Go Jian, the king of you. How can you say that I am smearing the reputation of the Imperial College?" Although Kong Ingda's words were reasonable, Li Zixuan was not willing to be wronged by other people's reasons. He would still fight back when it was necessary. If one could only endure passively without fighting back, what was the difference between him and a salted fish? Of course, the reason why he could fight back so reasonably was all thanks to Li Yu's writing technique. At this moment, Li Zixuan gave Yu 32 likes in his heart and labeled her as a good teammate of the Tang Dynasty. Chapter 328. You're simply twisting words and forcing logic. Hearing Li Zixuan's fallacious reasoning, Kong Ingda was so angry that his face turned red as he shouted angrily. Li Zixuan shook his head and didn't deny it. Anyway, he was very dissatisfied with old Kong today and couldn't be bothered to say more. Think about it carefully. No matter what, Cui Shanyu and the others are also professors of the Imperial College. I won't agree to you using the newspaper to ruin their reputation, and His Majesty won't forgive you. Kong Ingda looked at Li Zixuan's stubborn look and said angrily, "Chancellor, you are wrong to say that. This headline is just speculation. It didn't clearly conclude that Professor Cui and the others ate shit. Even the Imperial censor has the right to listen to the news. Can't ordinary people express their own speculation?" Seeing that Kong Ingda's words were getting more and more serious and was about to go to the top, Li Zixuan opened his mouth to explain. Previously, he was so angry at Cui Shanyu's impeachment that he let Li Yu put this matter on the newspaper. Now that he thought about it, his actions were indeed thoughtless and might arouse Li Er's suspicion. Fortunately, Li Yu's article was written in a more tactful way and could be used to avoid the edge. Don't play this game with me. You have to think of a way to salvage this matter. Kong Ingda had been in the field of education for most of his life, so how could he be fooled by this little word game? He glared at Li Zixuan and said angrily, "Since things have come to this, what can I do? At most, the Tang Daily won't record this matter in the future. Besides, Cui Shanyu and the others are all professors of the Imperial College. Did they consider the friendship of everyone working together at that time? Did they think that this would smear the reputation of the Imperial College?" Li Zixuan said angrily, This matter is indeed their fault. This old man will criticize them later." "Criticize? Ha!" Li Zixuan sneered and raised his head. If it weren't for Cui Shanyu's accident this time, there would have been another battle of words in the Imperial Court yesterday. I wanted to fight all 8 of them alone. If I were to unfortunately lose, I would definitely lose all standing and reputation. I wonder what Chancellor Kong would say at that time. Could it be that it was also some superficial criticism? Since you can't be impartial, what's the point of saying more? This, Kong Yingdao was rendered speechless. Chancellor Kong, when I first came to the Imperial College to teach, I only wanted to spread my master's new mathematics. I only wanted to leave a spark of my master's wisdom in the mortal world. I don't want to fight for fame and fortune with anyone. If Cui Shanyu and the others want the position of Minister of Works in the Imperial College, they can take it. Right now, I only want to teach the 44 students in my school of mathematics. You can do whatever you want as long as you don't provoke me. After Li Zixuan finished speaking, he flicked his sleeves and left, leaving behind a sentence in the air. Regardless of the wind and waves, it is better than taking a leisurely stroll. I smile as I watch the clouds move. Kong Yingdao wanted to reach out his hand to stop him, but was stunned by the last sentence. After a moment, he came back to his senses. Li Zixuan had already walked far away. Kong Yingdao muttered to himself, "I'm old." I was actually rendered speechless by a junior. Looks like this kid is bitterly disappointed. Could it be that I was wrong? Li Zixuan was indeed bitterly disappointed. He rarely lost his temper. This time, he had fallen out in front of Kong Yingdao. He had the intention of shedding all pretense of cordiality. He wanted to use Kong Yingdao's mouth to tell those people, "I don't care if you fight for your power, but don't mess with me. If you provoke me, don't blame me for being ruthless." Looking at the time, it was almost past mealtime. Li Zixuan secretly cursed his bad luck and returned to the School of Mathematics. He sat on his own horse carriage and went home for dinner. Just as he walked out of the Imperial College, the horse carriage was stopped by someone. "Are you Li Sai in the carriage?" A respectful voice came. Li Zixuan was sure that he had never heard this voice before. He couldn't help but lift the curtain curiously. He looked at the middle-aged man in dark red and asked, "It's me. What can I do for you?" No, Li Sai. Please don't make me feel unworthy. I am the steward of the Commandery Prince's manor. The Commandery Prince's consort sent me to invite Li Sai to the Prince's manor for a banquet. She said that she had something important to discuss. She hoped that Li Sai would do her the honor and come to the Prince's manor for a chat. The middle-aged man's attitude was extremely humble. He was not as arrogant and despotic as those villainous servants of wealthy families that often appeared in novels. Li Zixuan's heart skipped a beat, and he understood the gist of it. Before Li Shaogong left, he had entrusted his youngest son to Li Zixuan. The purpose of this banquet was probably for Li Zixuan to bring in a child and accept a disciple. "Okay, wait a moment. I'll go with you." Li Zixuan nodded. He turned to look at Iron Egg in the carriage and said, "Iron Egg, take the carriage back first. I'll go to the Prince's manor." "Okay, Master. Your Majesty, please try this steamed base. This is something this concubine recently learned how to cook." Imperial Harem, Concubine Yang's bedroom. A beautiful woman dressed in light yellow clothes gracefully picked up food for Lier. The woman's black hair was like lacquer, her skin was like jade, and her beautiful eyes were full of hope. Every frown and smile of hers revealed an indescribable charm, and every movement of hers made people feel a noble aura that came from her bones. This woman was Concubine Yang, a true descendant of the heavens. Concubine Yang was originally the princess of the Sui Dynasty. During the Sui Dynasty, the Yang clan was a noble family. They boasted that they originated from the Yang clan of Hong Nong. They were one of the Yang clan's prefectures and originated from the Western Han Prime Minister Yang Chong. Yang Kai's grandson, Yang Zhen, was an official during the Eastern Han Emperor Wang Wu's time. He was given the title of Confucius of Guanxi. The establishment of the Sui dynasty made the Yang clan even more prominent. Other than the Sui dynasty's imperial family, the Duke of Yu, Yang Su, was also a famous figure in the Yang clan. Concubine Yang's grandfather was the founding emperor of the Sui dynasty, Yang Jian. In 581 AD, on the second month of the Jiazi, Emperor Jing of Zhou announced that Yang Jian was abdicated. Yang Jian accepted the mandate of heaven and entered the palace in his regular clothes. The emperor was located in the Lingguang Hall and named the country Great Sui. He changed the name of the country to Founding Emperor and announced a general amnesty. My dear concubine, you have good culinary skills. Those imperial chefs of mine can't even compare to you. As the saying goes, a feast for the eyes. The food made by a beauty was naturally better than those made by men. As the emperor, Li'er knew how to enjoy himself. Your Majesty is too kind. How can I compare to the imperial chefs? Hearing Li'er's praise, concubine Yang pursed her lips and smiled. As a princess of the previous dynasty, her position in the palace had always been very sensitive. She knew that she couldn't compete with Empress Zhang's son, so she didn't compete. She just stayed in her own place every day, assisting her husband and teaching her children. No, it should be teaching her children. If Li'er came to her place, she would naturally welcome him. If he didn't, she wouldn't force him either. She was the truest portrayal of concubine Yang. Chapter 329. Oh, my dear, where is Ku? Li'er was eating the steamed base made by Yang Fei. He looked around and suddenly asked. As the eldest son of Yang Fei, Li Ku was born noble and inherited the blood of 2 dynasties. In terms of the nobility of blood, no one in the entire Tang Empire could compare to him. He could be said to be the noblest prince in the Tang Empire. On the other hand, Li Ku was good at both civil and martial arts. His decisiveness was very similar to Li'er's, so Li'er was especially fond of him. After not seeing Li Ku for half a day, Li'er started to talk about him. Your Majesty, Ku is probably practicing martial arts with General Dugu in Bea right now. Speaking of her son, Yang Fei's face showed a touch of kindness. That was the unique gentleness of a mother. Bea was the north of the imperial city. After Li Yuan became the emperor, he selected 30,000 imperial guard from the Taiyuan uprising army to be stationed in the north of the imperial city. They were responsible for the defense of the imperial palace. They were called the Yuansong Imperial Guards, also known as Bea. As expected of my son, you are really eager to learn. Li'er nodded in appreciation. He glanced at a stack of newspapers on the table not far away and asked curiously, My dear, do you read the newspapers on a daily basis? Occasionally, Yang Fei answered casually. In fact, she didn't read it occasionally but often. She was usually bored in the harem, and the newspapers provided her with a very good way to pass the time. She basically read every issue of the newspaper from beginning to end. However, she couldn't say that because if she said that, it would seem like she was complaining that Li'er didn't come to see her often. In the imperial palace, where people's hearts were complicated, Yang Fei had learned to be careful with her words and actions and how to protect herself. Bring today's newspaper for me to see. Li'er didn't have the energy to think about a woman's complicated thoughts. He remembered that he didn't have time to read today's newspaper, so he said, Yes, Your Majesty. Yang Fei got up and walked over with light steps. She brought today's Tang daily and handed it to Li'er. Li'er took the newspaper and put it beside his rice bowl. He began to eat and read the newspaper. Of course, Li'er didn't have time to read the articles at the front of the newspaper. He directly read the headlines, but after reading the news, Li'er frowned deeply. What's wrong, Your Majesty? At this moment, Yang Fei had finished eating. She was wiping her red lips with a handkerchief. Seeing Li'er's expression, she couldn't help but be puzzled. Have you seen today's headlines? Li'er asked. Oh, Chinchia saw it. Does Your Majesty think that this news is inappropriate? It's more than inappropriate. It's totally inappropriate. Li'er slapped the table and stopped eating. He stood up with his hands behind his back and said, Previously, when Li Zishuan founded the Tang Daily, I didn't think much of it. But from today's news, I'm afraid that this kid has been plotting for a long time. Today, he could use newspapers to smear and attack his ministers. Tomorrow, would he be able to use newspapers to form cliques? A small newspaper could be used as a weapon in a fight between factions. This kid was really good at scheming. If we don't knock him down a few times, wouldn't he ascend to the heavens? Your Majesty, I've heard that Li Sai is knowledgeable at such a young age and has a pure character. I don't think he would do something like that, would he? Yang Fei hesitated for a moment and said, I don't think he would either. But what needs to be knocked down must be knocked down. Otherwise, this kid will inevitably go astray one day with a sharp weapon in his hands. Lier said coldly. He knew Li Zixuan's character very well. He guessed that Li Zixuan was purely retaliating against Cui Shanyu and the others. But even though he guessed it, he still didn't agree with Li Zixuan's way of doing things. The newspaper's ability to influence public opinion was a thorn in Lier's heart. He felt very uncomfortable. Prince Hejian's manner. Haha, Li Sai is a busy man. It's not easy to invite him. As soon as Li Zixuan entered the manor, a young man with a noble aura walked towards him. Li Zixuan recognized him at a glance. It was Li Daozong. He had met him 2 days ago on Murky Island. So Wang Yi is also here. Please forgive my rudeness. This one was delayed by some business at the Imperial College and came late. I hope Wang Yi will not take offense. Seeing Li Daozong, Li Zixuan was shocked. At this time, he didn't know what Jun Wang Fei was planning. Haha, no offense, no offense. Kid, come with Ben Wang to see Wang Saw. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Li Daozong roared with laughter. Actually, he had been invited by Jun Wang Fei today. Because Li Xiaogong was out at sea, there was no male host in the manor. Jun Wang Fei was just a woman, and it was inconvenient to invite guests. Therefore, Li Daozong was invited. He could also be the witness for Li Huairan's apprenticeship. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Wang Yi is right. Please go ahead. Let's go. Li Zixuan followed Li Daozong to the main hall of Hejian Junwang Fu. As expected, Junwang Fei was waiting inside. Beside her were 2 youths in their teens. Compared to her coquettish attire when Li Zixuan had seen her last time, she was dressed much more solemnly this time. Her eyebrows showed signs of tiredness. She looked to be about 26 or 27 years old. She did not wear any makeup and her skin was white and tender. However, the mature charm in her bones could not be concealed. I wonder where Li Xiaogong, that old pervert, found such a wife. TSK. In history, Li Xiaogong died young. Is it related to this? Li Zixuan's mind was filled with all sorts of random thoughts. Li Sai has come? Please sit. Seeing Li Zixuan come in, Jun Wang Fei hurriedly stood and greeted him with a smile. Jun Wang Fei is too polite. This one has come late. Wang Fei, please forgive me. Li Zixuan jumped out of his chaotic thoughts and raised his hands in a bow. Haha, no matter. Chongyi, Huairan, come over and greet Sir Li. Jun Wang Fei chuckled and then beckoned to the 2 youths beside her. This one, Li Chongyi, greets Sir. This one, Li Huairan, greets Sir. Regardless of whether these 2 were usually mischievous, under the threat of Jun Wang Fei's gaze, they showed the appearance of obedient children and went forward to bow to Li Zixuan. Shitzi, there's no need to be so courteous. Please rise. Li Zixuan felt very good inside. Usually, he was the one who called himself a boy in front of others. Now, it was others' turn to call themselves a boy in front of him. While Li Chongyi might be about the same age as him, and Li Huairan was only 2 or 3 years younger than him, the etiquette of a teacher could not be ignored. Thank you, sir. The 2 youths stood and said. This face speculates that Li Sai has not had time to eat. He is probably starving. This Fei will order the dishes to be served now. We can talk about other matters after the meal. How about it? Jun Wang Fei said with a smile. Haha, this boy is definitely hungry. Annie Wang, just have the dishes be served. Li Daozong said with a smile. I will follow Wang Fei and Wang Ye's arrangements. Li Zixuan raised his hands and said with a smile. He was indeed a little hungry, but why did his words sound a little strange? Chapter 330. It was fortunate that my prince had Li Sai's help this time. When I found out that His Majesty was sending my prince out to sea, this consort was unable to eat or sleep in peace. Now that I have the compass and that detailed map, this consort feels a bit better. Li Sai is young, but not only is his family wealthy, he also holds a high position. This consort can't give you anything, so I can only offer you a toast to express my gratitude. Hejian Junwang Fu. Halfway through the banquet, Jun Wang Fei poured herself a cup and suddenly stood to raise her cup to Li Zixuan. At this moment, the seductive charm on her body disappeared without a trace. Instead, It was replaced by a heroic spirit that was bursting forth. You cannot. Jun Wang Fei's words are too much for this one. Jun Wang Yi and I feel like old friends at first sight. This one is a junior and should do what I do. Strong wine is harmful to the body. This one has received Jun Wang Fei's goodwill. This one should not drink this wine. Li Zixuan was shocked when he saw this, because he had clearly seen that the wine in the cup was the strongest immortal drunken wine. This Jun Wang Fei was really sincere. Mother, Sir Li is right. This wine is too strong. Let this child drink it for you. Li Chongyi said urgently from his side. Yes. Wang saw. This immortal drunken wine is too harmful to the body. Even I can't bear it. Why don't you drink the land of warmth? Li Daozong hurriedly said. Seeing everyone object, Jun Wang Fei smiled and said, That's good. Since this is the case, then this Fei will use the land of warmth to toast Li Sai. When my Wang Yu returns safely, we will definitely host a banquet to express our thanks. This Fei will drink first as a sign of respect. Jun Wang Fei raised her head. There was not a drop of wine left in the cup. She looked like a heroine among women. That boy also toasts to Jun Wang Fei. Li Zixuan habitually poured himself a cup of land of warmth. Just as he was about to raise his head to drink, Li Daozong interrupted. Cough, wait. What? You're also someone who practices martial arts. How can you use the land of warmth to get away? Change to the immortal drunken wine. Li Daozong snorted and said in discontent. Li Zixuan was slightly embarrassed. Just now Jun Ji Fei, as a woman, had taken the initiative to drink the immortal drunken wine. He, a man, had to drink the land of warmth. Thinking about it, it was slightly embarrassing. But fortunately, he was already prepared. Hee, Your Highness is right. I'll change the wine now. He took a jug of immortal drunken wine and filled it to the brim. He raised the cup to Jun Ji Fei and said, To G Fei. After saying that, he cleaned it up. Chongyi thanks Mister on behalf of my father and mother. Li Chongyi raised his wine cup and returned the greeting. After saying that, he emptied the cup as well. Good. Then, this prince will also toast to Li Sai. After all, I heard from my elder brother that you made a lot of contributions on this trip to sea. Li Daozong stood up and said, It's this little one who would like to propose a toast to your highness. Li Zixuan was helpless. Were they trying to get him drunk by toasting him one after another? However, he had made some progress in the method of using energy to boil wine that he had been researching recently. This was where his confidence came from. After drinking 2 cups of immortal drunken wine, the strong alcohol caused Li Zixuan to feel that his heart, liver, spleen, stomach, and kidneys were all burning. He hurriedly circulated his physical energy and started to burn the alcohol in his body. Huiran, you should also toast to Mr. Li. Before your father G left, he specially entrusted you to Mr. Li. Jun Ji Fei smiled slightly and said, Li Huiran had been carefully examining Li Zixuan from the moment he came in. He was slightly dissatisfied and thought this person was only 2 or 3 years older than him. Why did he have to listen to him in the future? At this time, hearing his mother say this, Li Huiran could only suppress his doubts and displeasure and toast to Li Zixuan. Huiran toasts to Mr. Li. Li Zixuan looked sardonically at this guy. Li Huiran was still young and did not know how to disguise himself. Li Zixuan had detected his small eyes long ago. Ain't good. No matter what, this was a Wang Fu, and he should leave some face for Li Huiran's Jun Wang Fei. But when he saw the cup of wine in front of him, his expression became slightly bitter. He usually did not drink, but today, he had drunk such a large amount. So bitter. Today, I invited Li Sai to come in accordance with my G's wishes to entrust Huiran to Mr. Li. Come, take out the 6 rights. Jun Ji Fei saw that the time was right and stated the main goal of today's banquet. As expected, it was similar to what Li Zixuan had guessed when he came. She had come to taken a child and taken a disciple. Yes, Wang Fei. A servant girl at the side bowed in acknowledgement, and then went to the inner room to take out the 6 rites that had been prepared beforehand. The so-called 6 rites of cultivation included celery, which symbolized diligence and diligence, lotus seeds, which symbolized painstaking education, red beans, which symbolized good luck, jujube, which symbolized high school early, longan, which symbolized perfection, and skinny strips of meat, which symbolized a disciple's sincerity. Moments later, the rites were brought over. Zheng, A. N. Ji Fei solemnly handed the rites to Lisa Xuan as she pulled Li Huiren over and said, "Huiren has been naughty since childhood. I hope that Mr. Li can teach him well in the future. Today, the king of Jiangxia is also here and can be a witness." Huiren quickly offered tea to Mr. Li. "Yes, Mufei." Li Huiren took the cup of tea that the servant girl had prepared. He knelt on the ground facing Lisa Xuan and offered the tea with both hands. Zheng, A. N. Ji Fei had probably taught him this before Lisa Xuan had come. Offer tea to Mr. Li. No matter if it was sincere or not, at least this gesture was enough. Lisa Xuan felt very good inside, and some of the anger he had suffered at Kong Ingda's place had dissipated. Taking the tea, Lisa Xuan symbolically took a sip. He put on the posture of a strict teacher and said sincerely, "In Huiren, since your father has you study with me, then you should know your master's situation. I currently have 44 disciples, and they are all studying at the Imperial College. In the future, you should be studying with them. Regardless of whether you are rich or poor, I will treat all of you equally. There aren't many rules in my line of work. I only hope that you will conduct yourself with integrity, study hard, and live up to your conscience in the things you do. As a person, you have to live openly. You do not need to have a clear conscience, but at least have a clear conscience. Do you remember this?" It had to be said that Lisa Xuan was very good at pretending. At the side, Li Daozong and Zheng, A. N. Ji Fei saw this and nodded in praise. They felt that while he was young, he looked mature and had the potential to be a teacher, especially that last sentence. As a person, you have to live openly. You do not need to have a clear conscience, but at least have a clear conscience. This caused the two, who had experienced many things, to look at Lisa Xuan in a new light. Huiren will remember Mister's teachings. Li Huiren was moved and solemnly bowed to Lisa Xuan. Quickly stand up." Lisa Xuan channeled his qi into his palm and lifted Li Huiren up. From an outsider's point of view, he had not touched Li Huiren at all. They would probably think that Li Huiren had gotten up on his own. Only Li Huiren, who was present at the scene, knew what was going on. He was so shocked by Lisa Xuan's move that his eyes widened, and he was momentarily speechless. Good. Today, Huiren has found a good teacher. It is time for a toast. Come, boy, have a good drink with Ben Wang. Li Daozong slapped the table and roared with laughter. Lisa Xuan was speechless. He said have a good drink, but if they really drank, it would definitely be more than 1 cup. I dare not to obey. This boy toasts Wang Yi and Zheng, A. N. Ji Fei. Lisa Xuan wasn't afraid at all. Li Daozong's martial arts realm was far inferior to Li Xiaogong's. In fact, Li Xiaogong was even slightly inferior to Lisa Xuan. Therefore, if Lisa Xuan were to cheat, it would be hard to say who would win in the end. Chapter 331. Strange Interest Pavilion Workshop. Pang Sigi. This is the military order that General Yuqi gave you. Brother Chicken had just finished his lunch and was holding his big belly as he enjoyed the cool breeze under the willow tree in the workshop's courtyard. He was now half an employee of the Li Group, and the workshop covered his food and accommodation. Back then, in order to make the workshop's employees work seriously, Lisa Xuan specially sent the workshop's kitchen staff to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for training for a period of time. In addition, Lisa Xuan was willing to allocate money to the kitchen staff. Therefore, the food in the workshop was even better than some restaurants in Chang'an City. Just as Brother Chicken was about to fall asleep, a soldier suddenly rushed over with a warrant in his hand, bowed, and reported. Brother Chicken's spirit was aroused. He opened his half-closed eyes and jumped up. He took the military order and opened it to see what was written on it. The family servants of the Imperial College's professors, Cui Shanyu, Liu Yinyu, Zheng Zhanli, and the other 8 professors, recently came to the Right Marquis Mansion to report case. They claim that there has been a lot of children's feces in front of their house recently. The 8 professors unanimously believe that someone is causing trouble and hope that the Right Marquis Mansion can send Wu Marquis to arrest the culprit. This general will send you to investigate this case. Within 3 days, you must give this general a result. A case actually came. Sai, Xiongda, Xiong'er, call 5 brothers and prepare to investigate the case. After Brother Chicken finished reading the military order, he somewhat reluctantly shouted at the 2 soldiers who were also napping not far away. To be honest, after being idle for so long, not only did Brother Chicken's belly get fat, his spirit also became somewhat lazy. If it wasn't for Yuchi Jingda personally giving him the military order today, he really wanted to live his life comfortably like this for the rest of his life. Coming. When the 2 soldiers heard the sound, they quickly trotted over. The 2 of them had shifty looks and looked like a pair of brothers. Oh no, if they stood together with Brother Chicken, they would be 3 brothers. Boss, if we leave, what about the workshop and strange interest culture safety? Xiong'er looked at the place where he was resting with some reluctance and mumbled. Damn, you're so smart. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Brother Chicken slapped Xiong'er in the face and glared at Xiong'er, saying, Go, quickly call someone for me. Lousy will go to the backyard and inform Old Ma. Yes, boss. Xiong'er rubbed his head. He wasn't angry and laughed. Godfather Ma. Brother Chicken eagerly went to the editorial department of the Tang Daily in the backyard, found Ma Zhou, and greeted him with a smile. Is something the matter with Pang Siggy? Ma Zhou was sorting out the news materials collected from all over Chang. Hearing Pang Feiji's words, he stopped writing and looked at Pang Feiji. Of course, he chose to ignore the nickname given to him by Brother Chicken. Otherwise, if he were to investigate further, wouldn't he be sulking every day? Old Ma. This Pang has just received General Yuchi's order to investigate a case in the next few days. But Old Ma, you don't have to worry. This Pang will leave behind some brothers to guard the workshop and strange culture. Brother Chicken said with a big smile. Oh, what case? A light flashed in Ma Zhou's eyes as he asked subconsciously. But after a moment, he realized his slip of the tongue and coughed dryly. Ahem, this Ma misspoke. If it's not convenient for Pang Siggy to tell, then just pretend that this Ma didn't say anything. Brother Chicken's face stiffened. According to the rules of the Right Marquis House, any case could not be told to outsiders. If caught, they would be charged with leaking military information. But Ma Zhou was an exception. During the time he was in the workshop, Ma Zhou gave him a lot of convenience. Moreover, this case, in Brother Chicken's eyes, should be a trivial case. Revealing a bit to Ma Zhou shouldn't be considered leaking secrets. Thinking of this, Brother Chicken quickly waved his hand and said, Convenient. It's also not a big case. There's no harm in telling Old Ma. As he said this, Brother Chicken roughly told Ma Zhou about the military order that had just been sent by the messenger. Ma Zhou had just casually asked, but he didn't expect to hear about such a case. The usually calm and wise Ma Zhou immediately deduced a shocking truth in his heart when he linked it to the recent events in Chang and City. His face darkened as he scanned the surroundings. Then, he pulled Brother Chicken and whispered, Pang Siggy, come with me. Let's talk in private. Oh, Brother Chicken was stunned and puzzled. After a moment, he saw that Ma Zhou had already walked far away. He quickly followed him. The Tang Daily editorial department, back office study. Ma Zhou and Pang Feiji sat down one after another. Old Ma, why did you ask me to come over? Seeing that Ma Zhou walked over with a mysterious look and even locked the doors and windows after entering the room, Brother Chicken couldn't help but feel his chrysanthemum tightened. Oh no, his heart tightened. He secretly thought to himself that he had never heard of Ma Zhou having homosexual fetishes. What did this mean? What if he had followed him? Or after a fierce mental struggle, Brother Chicken finally mustered up the courage to ask, Ma Zhou didn't know how to read minds and didn't know Brother Chicken's dirty thoughts. If he knew, he would definitely spit blood on Brother Chicken's face. Even if I wanted to find Uncle Rabbit, I wouldn't find someone like you. Pang Siggy, have you heard about the recent eating shit incident of the Imperial College's 8 professors? Ma Zhou looked up and asked softly. I've heard about it. This incident has spread like wildfire in the city. I didn't think that these professors would act sanctimonious on the surface, but in fact, cough, cough. Then Pang Siggy, have you ever thought about why General Yuchi would give this case to you alone, since there are dozens of Siggy in the right Marquis household? Ma Zhou didn't care about Brother Chicken's nonsense. He directly interrupted and asked in a serious voice. Is there any other explanation? Brother Chicken finally understood that Ma Zhou didn't call him over to mess with him. However, after hearing Ma Zhou's profound words, he was suddenly dumbfounded and asked blankly. Ma Zhou rolled his eyes. Why was this guy's brain so slow? Of course there is an explanation. Pang Siggy, think about it. When the eating shit incident of Professor Chui and the others broke out, who did they have a conflict with? Also, why did they get caught up in the eating shit incident in just 2 short days? Ma Zhou had no choice but to guide him step by step. After being together for so long, Brother Chicken already knew that Ma Zhou was like a think tank in the Li group. Now that Ma Zhou said this, he definitely wasn't shooting at random. He frowned and pondered seriously for a moment. Then, he suddenly said, I understand now. Is it Little Fishy who is playing tricks behind the scenes? Could it be that Professor Chui and Little Fishy had a conflict before? That shouldn't be. Why have I never heard of it before? Ma Zhou had originally heard Brother Chicken say that he understood. In his heart, he was still thinking that this guy wasn't completely stupid. In the end, when he heard his last sentence, Ma Zhou was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He really wanted to smash Brother Chicken's head to see if it was filled with a lump of iron. Chapter 332. Ahem. What I want to say is that the matter with Chui Shanyu and the others should be related to Lord Zhu. In the study, Ma Zhou resisted the urge to slap Pang Feiji to death and directly made things clear. Otherwise, with this guy's IQ, he would not be able to guess correctly even if the sky turned dark. That? How could Lord Zhu go to someone else's door and shit? And shit so much? Brother Chicken seemed to have discovered something incredible and was stupefied as he muttered. Get lost. What kind of status does Lord Zhu have? Why would he personally do such a thing? The refined Ma Zhou was angered by Brother Chicken's repeated words and could not help but curse. I understand. It was also the first time Brother Chicken saw Ma Zhou angry. He could not help but shrink his neck and quickly said, Master Ma, what you mean is that Lord Zhu sent people to do these cases. Hearing Brother Chicken say, I understand, Ma Zhou could not help but tremble. He was really worried that this joker would say some bizarre answer. Fortunately, Brother Chicken's thoughts did not go astray, and he guessed the correct answer. Yes, although this is only my guess, it should not be far from the truth. Chui Shanyu and the others jointly impeached Lord Zhu. Lord Zhu is young and impetuous after all. He was not willing to be wronged for no reason, so he sent people to punish Chui Shanyu and the others. As for today's headline on Tang Daily, I did not agree to publish it, but Lord Zhu insisted on doing it, so I could only risk my life to accompany him. Therefore, all the signs indicate that Chui Shanyu and the others' reputation today is very likely to be caused by Lord Zhu. Moreover, I think that General Yuchi may have also guessed this point, so he sent you to take charge of this case. On one hand, it is to give the 8 professors an explanation on the surface. On the other hand, it is probably to make things convenient for Lord Zhu. Ma Zhou's eyes shone with a wise and far-sighted divine light. He no longer tried to guide Chicken Bro in order and directly told him all his guesses. The main reason was that Ma Zhou had completely lost patience with Chicken Bro's IQ. So it's like this. Then why didn't General Yuchi tell me directly? Nonsense. How could he say such things out loud? Wouldn't that give people something to hold against us? I understand. Thank you for your guidance, old Ma. Hearing Ma Zhou say this, Only then did Brother Chicken completely understand the ins and outs of this matter, as well as Yuchi Jingda's deep intentions. He couldn't help but rejoice that he had come to the rear yamen to find Ma Zhou. Otherwise, if he had stupidly gone to investigate, it would have been fine if he hadn't found anything. But if he had found the truth, not only would he have offended Li Zishuan, even more seriously, he would have angered Yuchi Jingda. As a subordinate, it was taboo for him to not be able to grasp his superior's thoughts. Haha, you're welcome. Pang Siggy, go and investigate the case. Ma Zhou waved his hand. He didn't want to see Brother Chicken anymore. Yes. Then old Ma, I'll take my leave first. Brother Chicken stood up excitedly and cupped his hands to bid farewell. Your Highness, Junwang Fei, please wait. This one can go home on his own. In front of the Hejian Junwang Manor, Junwang Fei, Li Chongyi, and Li Huairan sent Li Zishuan to the door. If one looked carefully, one would find that Li Zishuan was missing from the crowd, and Li Zishuan's face was actually slightly red. The reason was quite interesting. During the banquet, Li Zishuan had secretly used his vital energy to burn the alcohol. Not long after, Li Daozong had discovered it. Although Li Daozong's state was not as high as Li Zishuan's, he had reached the middle stage of transforming qi. Therefore, he also started to use a similar method to force the alcohol and competed with Li Zishuan in drinking. After a while, the two of them fought until the sky turned dark. Junwang Fei and Li Chongyi's eyes were opened. Not only had they heard of the reputation of immortal drunken wine, but they had also drunk it personally. Moreover, when Li Xiaogong drank immortal drunken wine in the past, he wasn't this fierce. After a great battle, Li Zishuan used his slight advantage in power to win slightly. Even if he could use his vital energy to burn the alcohol, he could not endure drinking like this. As for Li Daozong, of course, he could not handle the alcohol and fell asleep. Why don't we have Huairan go with Li Sai? It's a good opportunity for him to learn from Li Sai. Junwang Fei looked at her youngest son and said to Li Zishuan, "Oh, that works. Junwang Fei, please wait. This one bids farewell." Being blown by the wind outside, Li Zishuan's mind cleared slightly. He raised his hands in a bow and bid farewell. Huairan, go with Li Sai. In the future, my son will study with Li Sai. Do not be naughty anymore. Junwang Fei patted Li Huairan's head and said gently. No mother was willing to send their son to a place far from them, but Junwang Fei was a woman who understood the greater good. While she was reluctant, she knew that she had to be more far-sighted at this time. This child knows the severity of the matter. Mother, please do not worry. Li Huairan felt a bit of sadness, like a young eagle leaving its nest, but more than that, he looked forward to life outside. He had lived in the Junwang Fu in these years. While he would occasionally go out to play with some wastrels, he still lived behind his parents' backs. All right, my son, go quickly. Sitting in the grand carriage that the Junwang Fu had prepared for him, Li Zishuan and Li Huairan chatted for a while before sitting down to meditate. He did not like having too much alcohol in his body. Li Huairan was far away and could feel the terrifying heat that Li Zishuan gave off. He couldn't help but become more curious about Li Zishuan. Sir Li seems to be a martial expert. I wonder how his power compares to Father King. Oh, he definitely cannot compare to Father King. He is so young. As the son of the Junwang Hejian, Li Huairan had a very deep understanding of Li Xiaogong's martial abilities. However, Li Zishuan was so young, yet he was able to have such extraordinary skills. This had already shocked him. Thinking back to the scene of Li Zishuan using Jinqi to lift him up in the air, Li Huairan was now more and more curious about this teacher of his. Second young master, Li Sai has arrived at the Imperial College. Half an hour later, the carriage stopped, and the coachman reported respectfully. Huairan, you go to the Imperial College first. Sir Su will arrange for you to enter the college. You should know many people in the School of Mathematics, so I won't bring you in. Li Zishuan opened his eyes and said, Yes, sir. I used to play with Prince Wei, Huayu, and Chonyao. Sir, you can go about your business. Li Huairan saluted, then jumped off the carriage and walked toward the Imperial College. Send me to Yongle Lane. Li Zishuan said softly. He was almost sober, so he could only ask the Junwang Fu's carriage to send him back. All right. Chapter 333. Xian'er, you drank? Back home, Li Zishuan wanted to rest in the west courtyard, but he bumped into his mother in the front yard. Although there wasn't much alcohol left in his body, the portion of alcohol that was forced out of his body had stained his clothes. Mrs. Li smelled a strong smell of alcohol from far away and couldn't help but be shocked. Ever since Li Zishuan returned from Mount Longhu, Li Jingma and Mrs. Li knew that their son didn't touch alcohol. At most, he would drink soft drinks that wouldn't get him drunk. How could they not be shocked when they saw their son in a drunken state? Mother, I'm fine. A servant accidentally spilled the wine on me just now in the prince's mansion. I'm not drunk. Li Zishuan explained with a smile. Mrs. Li saw that her son's words were clear and his thoughts weren't in a mess. She sighed in relief and smiled. Haha, that's good. Xian'er, go do your thing. Your father and I have to arrange for people to buy some things for your wedding in the afternoon. In a few days, our Xian'er will be married. Okay, I'll go then. Li Zishuan's heart skipped a beat. He estimated that he would be married in about a week. In his previous life, he had studied hard for more than 10 years and was about to start working. He hadn't even gotten married yet, but because of a banquet, he had inexplicably transmigrated to this era. And now, he was about to get married. Li Zishuan's heart was filled with complicated emotions. Young master, madam, someone from the palace is here. Sam Bao hurried over and reported with a bow. Quickly invite the angel in, Mrs. Li exclaimed. Go entertain the angel first. I'll call your father. Mother, there's no need. His Majesty should have sent someone to call me. I'll go alone. You and father can go do your things. Li Zishuan knew what was going on. He shook his head and said, Then, His Majesty won't cause trouble for you, right? Mother, he won't. I'll be fine. Go quickly. I'll have to go to the palace later. Li Zishuan smiled and replied, Then I'll go first. Lord Zhu, His Majesty has decreed for you to enter the palace immediately for an audience. Not long after, a servant carrying a horsetail whisk walked in and said to Li Zishuan, Sir, you've been waiting for a long time. Yes, little eunuch, please wait for a moment. I'll go with you. Li Zishuan was not surprised. After he argued with Kong Yingda in the morning, he thought that Li Er would ask him questions. Now it seemed that it was true. He had the eunuch wait in the main hall for a while he went to the west courtyard to change his clothes. Then, the two of them went to the imperial palace. Your Majesty, Li Xian'an is here. Sweet Dew Palace. Li Er was reading a book. Hearing this, he spat out a word expressionlessly. Announce. Summon Li Xian'an for an audience. Greetings, Your Majesty. When Li Zishuan heard the eunuch calling for him, he walked in with small steps and bowed to Li Er. This was not the first time he came to Sweet Dew Palace. As the saying goes, unfamiliar the first time, familiar the second time. Silence. The palace fell into silence. Li Er did not say anything. Li Zishuan did not have anything to say. Li Zishuan knew that old Li was angry with him today. He was probably putting pressure on him on purpose. However, Li Zishuan didn't feel guilty. Although he had gone a little overboard with the newspaper incident, he had still skirted the boundaries and didn't cross the red line. As for secretly hiring a child to poop in front of Cui Shanyu and the others, he had done it very discreetly and definitely wouldn't leave any evidence behind. Therefore, Li Er had no reason to do anything to him because of this. At most, he would just quit the Imperial College. Anyway, when he stayed in the Imperial College, other than teaching students, he had never thought of fighting for power. In this life, it was fine as long as he was happy. After being reborn and having been an official for so long, Li Zishuan was very clear in his heart. Cough, do you know why I called you here today? Li Er saw that Li Zishuan was not scared by him, even though he had purposely suppressed his aura. He could not help but feel angry. He secretly thought that this brat was no longer as timid as when he first entered the bureaucracy. Now, he had become a wily old fox. The two of them could not keep silent like this. As the emperor, Li Er still had a lot of things to do. Therefore, he took the initiative to speak. Your Majesty's wisdom is as vast as the sea. This humble subject does not dare to speculate. Li Zishuan gave a jack-of-all-trades flattery. Right now, he really looked like a veteran in the officialdom. It was hard to imagine that 2 months ago, this guy was just a newbie who had just entered the officialdom and was afraid of the slightest thing. Bastard, I told you to speak, so speak. Lier put down the book in his hand and said angrily, this humble subject thinks that your Majesty must have seen today's newspaper, so Li Zishuan was surprised. Oof, looks like you know it yourself. Tell me, what do you want to do with the headlines in today's newspaper? Lier snorted coldly and said, Your Majesty, this humble subject knows that your Majesty must be angry with today's headlines and think that this humble subject is deliberately smearing Dr. Cui and the others. However, your Majesty does not know that the so-called news is what we have heard recently. The original purpose of the Tang Daily was to seek truth from facts. We can't cover up for the person who reported it just because he or she is in a high position. No matter who it is, we will treat them equally. Li Zishuan said the words that he had already prepared in his heart. According to what you said, you still think that your Tang Daily is the imperial censor of the people. This was the first time Lier had heard such a novel idea, but he could not help but sneer. Your Majesty, this humble subject has the same intention. Our Tang Empire has tens of millions of territories, and there are at least tens of thousands of officials in all the provinces and prefectures. It is fine around Chang, but it is inevitable that some officials in remote areas will lose supervision. This humble subject believes that once power is lost, it will inevitably lead to corruption. At that time, this humble subject established the Tang Daily with the intention of developing it in the future. At that time, the reporters of our Tang Daily will be in every corner of the Tang Empire, and the corrupt officials will have nowhere to hide. This is also a disguised way of rectifying the governance of the officials for the imperial court. Li Zishuan saw that he had succeeded in diverting the topic, so he quickly continued to persuade him. Lier frowned and fell into deep thought. In the early days of the Tang Empire, it did spend a lot of effort to rectify the governance of the officials. Therefore, the governance of the officials in the Tang Empire was still considered clean, and there were no major cases of corruption. However, Lier was a very far-sighted monarch. He knew that the reason why the previous dynasties fell was mostly because the governance of the officials in the country was too corrupt at the end of the dynasty. And Li Zishuan's words seemed to give him a new idea to solve the problem of official corruption, which made him seriously consider the feasibility of this method. Chapter 334. Once power is lost, it will inevitably lead to corruption in the Sweet Dew Palace. Lier muttered to himself twice and suddenly sneered. You make it sound nice. Your newspaper can supervise my officials, but who will supervise your newspaper? If no one supervises it, I believe that it won't be long before your Tang Daily becomes a tool for the courtiers to fight for power. Lier had somewhat forgotten his original intention of calling Li Zishuan over today. He was very interested in Li Zishuan's talk about the supervision of power. This was related to the long-term prosperity of the empire. Therefore, at this time, how could Lier have the time to care about the small matters of Cui Shanyu and the others? Li Zishuan had long been mentally prepared for Lier's doubts. Before he came, he had already thought of letting Lier's people enter the management of the Tang Daily. After all, in this era of imperial power, if you let the emperor feel that you could threaten his rule, then your life would be over. Sigh, if you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for not being reborn as the emperor and not being able to do whatever you want. Your Majesty, regarding this humble subject has some preliminary ideas. Do you think it's feasible? Oh, quickly say it. Lier's eyes lit up as he hurriedly said. After realizing the powerful role of the newspaper, Lier had indeed thought of using the Tang Daily for his own use. However, the Tang Daily was founded by Li Zishuan. It would be too unpleasant for him, the emperor, to steal the things of his subjects. Therefore, He wanted to hear what Li Zishuan had to say. Your Majesty is right. If there is no supervision, it won't be long before Tang Daily becomes corrupt and even become a tool for the courtiers to fight for power. Therefore, this humble subject wants to ask Your Majesty to send an absolutely impartial third party to supervise the editorial department of Tang Daily. This supervision department can review the daily content of the newspaper, but they can only review it and cannot interfere with the daily operations of Tang Daily. This way, they and the original management staff of Tang Daily can play a role in restraining each other. In fact, this is somewhat similar to the position of military supervisor in the army. What do you think, Your Majesty? In ancient times, the military supervisors were all temporary. They represented the imperial court to assist in military affairs and supervise the generals. Since the time of Emperor Wu of Han, there had been an army supervisor. The Eastern Han, Wei, and Jin dynasties all had one. The province was known as the supervisor of the army, also known as the supervisor of military affairs. There were also military counselors, military commanders, and military supervisors. After Lier heard this, he pondered for a while. Then his eyes immediately shone brightly. He said excitedly, that's a good idea. It was very feasible. But speaking of which, why are you so generous today? He actually gave away his own Tang Daily? After his excitement, Li Zishuan immediately regained his composure. He looked at Li Zishuan suspiciously. Li Zishuan said angrily in his heart, do you think I want to? Isn't it because you're the one sitting on the dragon throne? If I were the emperor, would I give a damn about you? However, Li Er's gaze made him feel awkward. What did Oli mean? You're making me look like a miser in the past. Ahem, Your Majesty, your humble subject's purpose in establishing Tang Daily was so that one day, Tang Daily could play the role of a third party. It was so that the people of Tang could live a good life. From the beginning, I never thought of taking Tang Daily as my own. Tang Daily should be the newspaper of all the people of Tang. Besides, I only invited Your Majesty to send people to supervise the content of Tang Daily. Your Majesty's people and the editorial staff of Tang Daily are only in a mutually restrictive relationship. They are not subordinate to each other. Speaking up to this point, Li Zishuan's expression suddenly turned solemn. He looked straight at Lier and said word by word, Your humble subject dares to say something disrespectful. The future of Tang Daily only belongs to the people of Tang. Even if Your Majesty sends people to supervise it, the nature of Tang Daily will never change. If one day Tang Daily becomes a tool for the imperial court to fool the people, I will destroy it with my own hands. A ruler is a boat. A person is water. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. I believe that with Your Majesty's great foresight and wisdom, you will definitely be able to understand my intentions. Li Zishuan's unbridled gaze and provocative words were extremely disrespectful no matter how one looked at it. If it was another emperor, there was a 99% chance that he would be Kacha. Of course, if it was another emperor, Li Zishuan would definitely not say this. He still cherished his little life very much. The reason why he dared to say this to Lier was because of the influence of history books. In history books, Lier was definitely one of the best emperors who could accept the advice of his subjects. Oli had been scolded so badly by Wei Zheng, but Lier did not kill Wei Zheng. Lier would occasionally scold Wei Zheng, and it would be fine. Lier's brows were tightly knitted, and his sharp gaze shot towards Li Zishuan's face. Of course, he was angry in his heart. Any superior who heard their subordinate speak to them in such a manner would definitely be angry. However, Lier, who had been tempered by Wei Zheng, was still able to control his emotions very well. When he heard Li Zishuan's last sentence, Lier's face suddenly froze. He carefully savored these words in his heart several times, and could not help but mutter, Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Good. You have guts. Lier slapped the table and stood up. His expression constantly changed from anger to excitement, and then from excitement to inexplicable complexity. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Li Zishuan. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this. You were usually so calculative, greedy for life, and timid, but now you can actually speak such great principles for the country, for the people, and for the common people. Not bad, not bad. Jean's heart is comforted. The illusion of water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize. It was first seen in the Warring States period's Wang Ji Pian, written by the philosopher Sun Tzu. Commoners are in charge, and then the noblemen are in charge. There's a saying, the monarch is the boat, the commoners are the water can carry the boat, and the water can capsize it. In the third year of Jingguan, Wei Jing also quoted a similar point in Jingguan Important Political Figures. Your subject also heard an ancient saying, the monarch is the boat, the people, to avoid the taboo of the Tang Dynasty's Li Shimin, people are the water. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Therefore, at this time, Li Zishuan's words made Li Er look at him in a new light. Li Er's words sounded like he was praising him, but Li Zishuan was so angry that he almost vomited blood. When did this young master become calculative, greedy for life, afraid of death, and overcautious? Cough, cough, Your Majesty. In fact, I have always been so noble and upright. You have misunderstood me. Li Zishuan vomited blood and said. Chapter 335. Happy birthday to leader Ghostwriter. Inside the Hall of Nectar, Li Er looked at the lazy and shameless kid in front of him. His expression was a bit absent-minded. He thought to himself, this kid is living more happily every day than I, the emperor, daring, careful, optimistic, and knowing when to advance and retreat. He is a good seedling. Scram, I still don't know what kind of character you have. Li Er scolded with a smile and sat back on the throne. He leaned against the back of the chair and stared at Li Zishuan. He asked, then, who do you think can take on the responsibility of supervising Tang daily? This question was not easy to answer. Earlier, Li Zishuan had said that the supervision department sent by the court was to form a mutually restrictive relationship with Tang daily's management staff. If he told Li Er who should come over at this time, wouldn't he be suspected of embezzlement? I think that Your Majesty should send someone with good character, fair and upright, and who can accept new things and new ideas like newspapers to supervise. The purpose of supervision is definitely not to make trouble for people out of thin air, and is definitely not to hinder the development of Tang daily. So, the person in charge of supervision must first agree with the newspaper as a new form of carrying culture. Otherwise, Tang daily will definitely die in endless internal strife. As for who is more suitable to be in charge of this matter, Your Majesty must already have a candidate in mind. I do not dare to speak rashly. Li Zishuan pushed the question back. He was not stupid enough to jump into the hole that Li Er had dug for him. You stinking brat, you are getting more and more slippery. Li Er couldn't help but laugh and scold him. Then, he thought seriously and said, you were right. The purpose of supervision is not to hinder the development of Tang daily. I never planned on letting Tang daily perish. How about this? Let Chengxian take on the responsibility of supervision. What do you think? What could it be? It was too damn good. Hearing this, Li Zishuan was delighted. To be able to get this result was already beyond his expectations. With his relationship with Li Chengxian, letting him be the army supervisor of Tang daily, TSK, wouldn't that be cough? This is a matter of great importance. Your Majesty can make the final decision. I have no objections. Li Zishuan said shamelessly. Even though he was a prostitute, he still wanted to pretend to be innocent. The corner of Li Er's mouth twitched. Damn it, you've already made so many requests just now, and now you still have the face to say that it's all up to me, with no objections. Can you be a little more shameless? Then it's settled. Li Er made the final decision and slapped the table. He had made this decision after careful consideration. On the one hand, Li Zishuan had taken the initiative to ask the imperial court to send someone to monitor Tang daily. This greatly exceeded Li Er's expectations. Although he had no intention of interfering with the internal affairs of Tang daily, since Li Zishuan had brought it up, Li Er would definitely not reject this opportunity. The newspaper's powerful ability to control public opinion moved him very much. With the newspaper, Li Er felt that he would have a greater chance of success in weakening the aristocratic families. As the saying goes, return a favor for a peach. Since Li Zishuan was so tactful, Li Er naturally had to make things easier for him. On the other hand, what Li Zishuan had said just now was very reasonable. If he sent a conservative and corrupt scholar to monitor Tang daily, then Tang daily would probably be finished in no time. Li Er definitely did not want to see this result. Li Chengxian and Li Zishuan had a good personal relationship, and they were relatively open-minded. They would not affect the daily operations of Tang daily. Moreover, Li Chengxian was the empire's crown prince, so Li Er did not have to worry about his position. This could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. Your Majesty is wise. Li Zishuan flattered with satisfaction. Tang daily was founded by him. In the end, he could not bear to see Tang daily being destroyed because of Li Er's incompetence. Li Chengxian's participation would minimize the impact on Tang daily. You brat! Li Er pointed at Li Zishuan and scolded meaningfully with a smile. You brat! Have you become timid again? Where did your courage go? Li Zishuan secretly curled his lips and thought, I can't beat you now, so of course I have to admit defeat. Only those who have strength can act pretentiously. If I still act pretentiously without strength, then I'll be a fool. Wait until I'm fully developed in the future. Then I'll come back and act pretentiously in front of you. Pa! Li Er slapped the dragon table and said in a bad mood, Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not Han Gaozu. I'm not afraid of my officials' achievements overshadowing my lord. In terms of contributions, who in the Tang Empire has more contributions than me? Li Er was a little talkative today. Perhaps he really treated Li Zishuan as a junior. His expression was a little complicated as he reminisced. When I was 19, I followed my father to rebel against the Sui Dynasty from Jinyang. I commanded the 3 right armies and directly attacked Chang, and after that, I led an army of 100,000 to attack the eastern capital Luoyang and defeated the Sui General Duanda. The next year, I defeated Shuiju, defeated Song Jingyang, Lu Wuzhou, destroyed Wang Shichong of Hunan and Dou Jinda of Hebei. I heavily injured Lu Haida and Su Yuanlang of Shandong. Within a year, I destroyed the rest of the powers in the Tang Empire. In terms of military contributions, who can compare to me? After I ascended the throne, the medicine master and the others have been living in seclusion and have even withdrawn from the court. I know that they are worried they'll be like Han Gaozu and turn against them once the world is settled. They are worried that they will be like Han Xian, Peng Yu, and Ing Bu, and end up being killed because of their contributions. Ha! Laughable. Extremely laughable. You all look down on me too much. The entire world is mine. Why would I care about your little contributions? Right now, I have only conquered the land of Tang, but my goal is to conquer all the countries of Zhou and Zhou. For Chengxian, for my descendants, I will establish a foundation for eternity. At a time like this, how could I be as short-sighted as the boorish Liu Bang and get rid of the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness? All of you will follow me to establish a foundation for eternity. I will ensure that your descendants will have eternal peace. As long as I live, I will not kill any of you who have contributed greatly. Li Er's words were as heavy as 1,000 pounds. This was a promise, a powerful oath. From these words, Li Zishuan could hear the glint of a blade and the shadow of a sword. He could hear the decisiveness to kill. He could hear the wild and unrestrained years of Li Er's early years. He could hear Li Er's great breadth of mind and boldness. At this moment, he could not help but admit that Li Er was truly a wise and magnanimous emperor. Looking at the long river of China's history, Li Er was one of the few emperors who treated his subjects well. No wonder so many valiant generals and ministers were willing to die for Li Er. Old Li's charisma was truly great. At this moment, Li Zishuan really wanted to say, Boss, you are so generous. Your Majesty is wise. I am sincerely convinced. Li Zixuan sincerely praised. Being born in such an era was perhaps a great misfortune for those restless youths who were unwilling to be left out. This was because if they wanted to jump, they had to rebel. If they wanted to rebel, they had to surpass Li Er, this mountain that was too high to climb. Oh no, it should be Mount Everest. But being born in such an era, for a youth like Li Zixuan who loved stability, it was a great fortune. The emperor was wise, the ministers were virtuous, and the country was strong. There was no need to worry about the survival of the country or the invasion of other races. There was also no need to worry about angering the emperor over a small matter. He only needed to leisurely do what he wanted to do and, at the same time, push the wheels of the era forward. Chapter 336. We know that you sometimes like to deliberately hide your abilities, and you still have many skills that you haven't used. Hearing Li Zixuan's sincere praise, Li Er didn't show any joy on his face. He looked at Li Zixuan for a long time, and Li Zixuan thought that there were flowers on his face. Finally, Li Er opened his mouth and continued. Therefore, we want to tell you today, don't be afraid of the slightest thing, and don't be afraid of making too many contributions and arousing our suspicions. Kid, don't worry and do it boldly. Whatever abilities you have, use them all. As long as you can make contributions, we will dare to reward you. With we here, no one can steal your contributions, and there is no such thing as a high merit shocking the emperor. We can tolerate millions of people in Tang, so why can't we tolerate you? Our goal is to surpass the Qin Emperor and Emperor Wu of Han and achieve unparalleled hegemony. We hope that our subjects can each do their best, and not all of them only care about their own interests and be afraid of the slightest thing. Kid, do you understand? Li Er once again showed Li Zixuan his broad-mindedness and ambition. After hearing this, Li Zixuan couldn't help but admire Li Er's foresight. He was indeed a little afraid of the slightest thing, and he deliberately hid his abilities. He was afraid that the fruits of his hard work would be taken away by others, so he didn't seriously promote the road of commercialization of the telegraph machine. Although there were technical difficulties, those were all excuses. In the end, he didn't have the motivation to solve them. Your Majesty is wise. This subject believes that under your Majesty's governance, Tang will become more prosperous and prosperous, far surpassing any previous dynasty. Li Zixuan solemnly cupped his hands and said, Huh. Li Er shook his head dissatisfied. He said, We have said so much, what do you think? Li Zixuan knew that he couldn't fool around anymore. He suddenly remembered that Li Er had called him over today to criticize him for his malicious revenge against Cui Shanyu and the others. But now, the topic had been infinitely diverted. Li Zixuan couldn't help but observe a moment of silence for Cui Shanyu and the others. Your humble subject admires your Majesty's great ambition. Many of the things that I have done were not for the Emperor's rewards. For example, the curved plow. At that time, I only did it to help my family. At the beginning, I did not think of using it to benefit the people, much less to obtain rewards through it. However, the Emperor was fair in his rewards and punishments. In a few short months, I went from a commoner to a fifth-level official in the Imperial College. I even received a hereditary title. In just a few months, I have walked the path that many people have walked for their entire lives. This subject thought that the higher the rank of an official and the higher the rank of nobility, the happier this subject would be. But that's not the case. Ever since I was promoted to the Imperial College, I've been working hard every day for the student studies. Even so, I was still jointly impeached by Professor Cui and the others. The 3 crimes that the 8 professors accused me of are still vivid in my mind. The conversation I had with Chancellor Kong this morning also made me feel extremely disappointed. I have followed my master in the mountains for 8 years. Apart from martial arts, I have only learned 30% of my master's knowledge. Even so, it is enough for me to benefit for the rest of my life. When I first joined the Imperial College, I only wanted to spread one of the pieces of knowledge that I had learned from my master, the new type of mathematics. I didn't expect to be impeached so soon after I was promoted to the Imperial College's official position. Therefore, I only want to leave behind a spark of my master's wisdom in the world. I don't want to participate in the fight for fame and profit and intrigue. I don't want the position of the Imperial College's official. Hearing this, Li Zixuan remembered that he had called Li Zixuan over today to fight for justice for Cui Shanyu and the others. He didn't expect that the topic would be so far away. Apart from embarrassment, he was more angry in his heart. Did he say so much to Li Zixuan just now for nothing? Bastard, just a few impeachments and you want to resign and go home? Look at how useless you are. If Pre-Spirit Void was still alive, he would definitely be ashamed of you. How could he accomplish great things if he was timid and cowardly when he had the ability to do so? We have said so much to you just now. Didn't you listen at all? Besides, we haven't reached a conclusion on the 3 crimes that Cui Shanyu impeached you for. What are you so anxious for? Do you think we have wronged you? Li Zixuan slapped the dragon table and berated angrily. Your Majesty misunderstands. The reason why I resigned from the Imperial College's official position is that I want to focus on cultivating a group of engineering talents in the future and pass down all the knowledge that I have learned from my master. Being in a high position will only cause me to be immersed in the vortex of power and intrigue with others, unable to extricate myself. I have wasted my good years for nothing. Li Zixuan calmly cupped his hands and replied. Although his heart had turned cold toward Kongingda, he had never given up on spreading modern science to the children of the Great Tang and creating interesting modern products. His dream was to be able to enjoy the convenience that modern technology brought to his life in the Great Tang. It would be best if he could stay at home and chat online or play games. Of course, this was rather far away and could only be dreamed about. What is engineering? Li Zixuan sternly asked. Your Majesty, this child has learned mathematics, physics, chemistry, mechanics, electricity, electromagnetism, and so on from my master. This subject calls all of this knowledge engineering. This lowly subject wishes to leave the Imperial College for another important reason. Other than mathematics, the Imperial College does not have any corresponding subjects. Moreover, in the eyes of some of the great Confucians, these subjects will definitely be classified as miscellaneous studies. This subject will not judge which is superior between miscellaneous studies and Confucianism, and this subject does not wish to instigate a war between the schools. 3 years from now, the outcome will naturally become clear. Thus, this subject wishes to distance himself from this whirlpool and focus on his studies. I wish to carry forward my master's engineering and comfort his soul in heaven. Li Zixuan solemnly replied. Li Zixuan's expression relaxed. He nodded and asked, What is the use of this engineering you speak of? Li Zixuan thought for a moment before replying. Your Majesty, engineering is actually the study of engineering. As the saying goes, to do a good job, a worker must first sharpen his tools. Engineering is a whetstone. With it, we will be able to do things more efficiently. Just like the curved plow that this subject built, with it, the farmers can plow the land more quickly and with less effort. This subject believes that in less than 3 years, this subject will be able to train this group of engineering talents and bring about a world-shaking transformation to our Great Tang. At that time, there will be even faster transportation than carriages. We might be able to travel from Chang until Luoyang and back in a single day. There will be even faster ways to send messages, and sending messages across 1,000 li will no longer be a dream. There would be even sharper weapons and tougher armors, and so on and so forth. Chapter 337. Faster means of transportation, faster means of communication, sharper weapons, tougher armor. Li Er was captivated by Li Zixuan's description of the future of engineering. He couldn't help but mutter to himself. A moment later, he regained his senses and asked excitedly, Telepathy from 1,000 miles away? Are you talking about the telegraph machine that you made previously? Li Er, who had experienced hundreds of battles, was most interested in the telegraph machine that Li Zixuan invented. He understood the importance of the telegraph machine in war. In his plan, he had to send troops to the Turkic Khaganate within 3 years. At that time, if there was a telegraph machine that could transmit telepathy from 1,000 miles away, the elusive Turkic Khaganate wolf cavalry would have nowhere to hide in the vast grasslands. The war hadn't even started, and Tang Dynasty had already won half of the battle. Yes, Your Majesty, it is the telegraph machine. Li Zishuan had already made up his mind to nurture a group of talents to improve the telegraph machine into a more advanced telephone machine. At the same time, he would also develop a derivative product, the radio. Of course, before this, he had to lead the talents that he was nurturing to improve Tang Dynasty's electronics industry. Yes, that's right. Li Zishuan wanted to bring Tang Dynasty into the era of electricity. As for the steam engine, he didn't need it now. He would talk about it when he needed it. Brat, didn't you say that there were still some technical problems that needed to be overcome before the telegraph machine could be used? Li Er said unhappily. He felt that he had been tricked by this daring little bastard in front of him. Cough, replying to Your Majesty, this subject did say that. However, this subject also explained that the reason why the telegraph machine couldn't be used was because Tang Dynasty didn't have enough talents in this field. The technical foundation in this field is too weak. That's why this subject wants to nurture a group of talents to strengthen Tang Dynasty's technical foundation in this field. At that time, this group of talents wouldn't just bring the telegraph machine to Tang Dynasty. They would also bring many things that Your Majesty couldn't even imagine. Li Zishuan saw Li Er's expression and knew what old Li was thinking. He quickly explained, "Oh, then how do you plan to nurture these talents? Tell me about it." Upon hearing this, Li Zishuan was moved. He looked at Li Zishuan and asked, "Your Majesty, I intend to build an academy and establish a school for the people. I intend to establish my heart for the heavens and earth, establish my life for the people, inherit the supreme arts of the past saints, and establish peace for all ages." This subject wants the seeds of engineering to set the entire great Tang ablaze. Li Zishuan straightened his back and said heroically, "Establishing a heart for the heavens and earth, establishing a life for the people, inheriting the lost arts for the past saints, establishing peace for all ages. You brat, you really talk big." Li Er was shocked by Li Zishuan's bold words, but after a while, he mocked. "The various systems of my great Tang's Imperial College have already been perfected. Brat, you don't want to stay in the Imperial College and insist on running off to run your own school. Aren't you just making things difficult for yourself?" The private academies in the Tang Dynasty were not developed. There were very few of them, and they did not have a perfect teaching system. They were not like the famous private academies in the Song Dynasty. Your Majesty, this subject wants to build a new type of academy. The perfect system of the Imperial College will only be shackles and fetters to this subject. It will not be of any help. As for what I said about establishing a heart for the heavens and earth, establishing a life for the people, inheriting the lost arts for the past saints, and establishing peace for all ages, I am definitely not bragging. 3 years later, this subject academy will become the best academy in the Great Tang Dynasty. This subject students will become the most outstanding talents in the Great Tang Dynasty. Li Zishuan said seriously. Li Er's eyes flashed. He pondered and said, "Then where do you intend to build the academy? Do you need me to allocate money and manpower?" Thinking of all the big treasures Li Zishuan had done in the past, Li Er felt that this time, Li Zishuan might really succeed. He was moved and wanted to help Li Zishuan. Of course, it could also be understood that he wanted a share of the profits. Most importantly, the sooner the academy was built, the sooner the telegraph could be used for military purposes. This was what Li Er cared about the most. Your Majesty, this subject intends to build the academy in my fief, Plum Village. As for the funds for the academy, this subject's family has some assets and should be able to handle it. I will not ask for it from Your Majesty. After all, the National Treasury does not have much money, and the other ministers will not agree to use the National Treasury's money for this subject school. As for the teachers of the academy, this subject will look for a group of candidates. I hope that your majesty can make it convenient for you. Li Zixuan understood what Li Er meant. However, this time, he did not intend to give up power. At most, he would let Li Er be the honorary principal. He was determined to be the principal of this academy. As for why he wanted to build the academy in Plum Village, it was because Plum Village was his fief. The second reason was because Plum Village was surrounded by mountains and rivers. The environment was very beautiful, like a paradise. The last time he went to Plum Village, the scenery there had left a deep impression on him. Overall, Plum Village was the most suitable place to build the academy. From Cui Shanyo's impeachment incident, Li Zixuan understood a principle. Without strength, there was no right to speak. It was easy to become a sacrifice in a struggle. Although he had a noble title and an official position, once it involved power struggles, others would still bully him. In the end, it was because he did not have strength. Why would others not dare to bully him? Why would they not dare to bully Yuqi Jingde? Li Zixuan did not want to bully others. However, he wanted to become strong, so strong that others would not dare to bully him. However, he was not good at political struggles and was not good at fighting on the battlefield. Therefore, to him, he could only build a top-notch academy and use his knowledge to cultivate a group of talents. By then, his students would hold important positions in various departments of Tang Dynasty. As their principal, who would dare to provoke him? Since the rules of the game in this world did not change, then he would change this world. Li Zixuan thought to himself pretentiously. When do you plan to start the academy? Have you thought of the name of the academy? Li Er was silent. Li Zixuan's questions were indeed very realistic. Tang Dynasty was very poor now. This subject intends to start building the academy in 10 days. By then, it should be in time for the field holiday of the Imperial College. At that time, this subject will resign from my position to your majesty. Your majesty will choose another person to take over the Imperial College. As for the name of the academy, it will be Huang College. The so-called field holiday was also commonly known as the busy farm holiday. At this time, the wheat was about to ripen and the students had to go home to harvest the wheat. Therefore, it was called the field holiday. The field holiday was roughly equivalent to the modern summer vacation. The holiday was about a month long. If the students were far away from home and the travel time was longer, they could apply to the academy for an extension of the holiday. However, this month's holiday was a net holiday and did not include the time spent on the journey. Li Zixuan wanted to make use of this free time to build the academy. When the autumn semester started, he would directly start recruiting students. Yanwang College. How can a deceased husband not be favored? Both are the descendants of Huang and Yan. Good. When the time comes, I will write a question for the plaque of the academy. However, why do we have to wait until 10 days later? Li Er was indeed an erudite sovereign king. He immediately thought of the origin of Yan Huang. He muttered to himself in a low voice and asked, Chapter 338. I'm getting married in 5 days. I should be busy with the wedding recently, so I pushed the construction of the academy to 10 days later. Li Zixuan scratched his head embarrassedly when he heard Li Er's question. The heavens took pity on him. He had lived 2 lives, but this was his first time marrying a wife. Hey, it's rare for you to be embarrassed. Li Er teased as if he had discovered a new continent. I've heard of your fiancée. She's a famous beauty in the surrounding villages of Chang. I didn't expect you to be such a pervert at such a young age. What the F***CK? Li Zixuan opened his mouth wide and looked at Li Er with a dazed expression. This dirty old man actually had the face to call him a pervert. Old Li, you mother ***er, don't you have a conscience when you talk about this young master like that? Your Majesty, I'm loyal to one person. How can I be a pervert? Li Zixuan's words were filled with thorns as he retorted. Since Li Er said such indecent words, it proved that he was joking with him. It shouldn't be too much for him to joke back, right? Bastard, how dare you make insinuations? What did he mean by loyal to one person? Wasn't Li Zixuan mocking Li Er for being a playboy? How could Lier not understand the meaning behind it? Cough, cough. I'm just speaking the truth. I didn't make any insinuations. Lisa Schwan said innocently. Get lost. There's nothing for you to do here. Lier waved his hand helplessly. He didn't want to see Lisa Schwan anymore. Your Majesty, I still have one more thing. Lisa Schwan secretly despised old Li's low quality. What get lost? Was this something an emperor would say to his subject? What else? Cough, cough, that I've just told your Majesty that I'm getting married in 5 days. If I may be so bold, I would like to invite your Majesty to attend the wedding. Lisa Schwan said boldly and shamelessly. In the entire Great Tang, only Lisa Schwan would dare to invite Lier to a banquet at the Ganlu Palace. This guy wanted Lier to chip in the money. When Lier heard this, he looked at Lisa Schwan in surprise. He was speechless for a long time. It was probably his first time meeting such a silly and shameless official like Lisa Schwan. He had no experience dealing with him at all. I understand. You can leave now. Lier waved his hand and chased him away. Lisa Schwan was speechless. What did you mean by that? Since they didn't say that they would go, why didn't they say that they wouldn't go? TSK. All these officials like to speak in such a profound manner. All right, since you didn't explicitly refuse, I'll take it as you've agreed. Lisa Schwan automatically filled in the blanks. I'll take my leave. Lisa Schwan cupped his hands and excused himself. Wait. Lisa Schwan was just about to walk to the door when he heard Lier call out. This guy slammed on the brakes, turned around, and walked back. He looked at Old Li bitterly and thought to himself, these officials like to speak in such a profound manner. They also like to speak in such a way that it's like squeezing toothpaste out of their mouths. Your Majesty, do you have any other orders? Lier said in a low voice, I want to tell you that your Yinhuang College should hurry up and start preparing. This matter is of great importance, so don't slack off. This time, Cui Shanyu and the others' impeachment against you is purely false. I won't believe them. I also know that you're someone who won't act until you see a rabbit. A while ago, I had you research the telegraph machine, but you didn't have any results. Now that you're suddenly so enthusiastic, isn't it because you have motivation? But don't worry, I won't mistreat you. When you resign from your position at the Imperial College, I'll promote you to be the Crown Prince's steward and give you the title of Golden Purple Guanglu Daifu. How's that? Damn, that's awesome, my brother. This is a 7-level promotion in a row. He was directly promoted from the 5th rank Imperial College's steward to the 3rd rank Crown Prince's steward, which was 1 level higher than Kong Ingda's 3rd rank Imperial College Chancellor. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lisa Schwan thanked him happily in his heart. Old Li had finally done something good. Go. Lier waved his hand without raising his head. After leaving the palace, Lisa Schwan really wanted to sing at the top of his lungs. This time, he chatted with Lier for more than 2 hours. It was the longest he had ever stayed in an audience with the emperor. The key point was that he told Lier about the big event that he had been brewing for a long time and approved it. In the future, he would be the principal. How could Lisa Schwan not be happy? In the future, he wouldn't have to scheme against Cui Shanyu and those old bastards in the Imperial College anymore. TSK. While it's still early, I should quickly go back and chat with my wife. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but quicken his pace. On the other side, in order to investigate the case, Chicken Bro brought 2 little brothers to Cui Shanyu's house for a field inspection. Needless to say, this guy was really good at acting. Seeing him squatting on the ground, he kept gesturing at some poop. But at this moment, he was really cursing in his heart. It was too smelly. If not for Madame Cui watching at the side, he would definitely have quit long ago. Pang Siggy, how is it? Have you found out who the culprit is? Seeing Chicken Bro measuring the poop, Madame Cui hurriedly came over to ask. The pile of poop in front of her house had seriously affected her life. Chicken Bro pretended to analyze. Cough, cough. According to the clues I found, this pile of poop was probably pulled down this morning. There are a total of 40 people who shit, and all of them are children. Madame Cui, these results of the investigation, I will truthfully report it to the higher-ups. Please believe that our Wu-Ho government will definitely help you find the culprit. Cough, cough. In fact, any random person would be able to find out what Chicken Bro had said. This guy was deliberately pretending to be garlic. He knew in his heart who was behind this, but he definitely couldn't say it out loud. Therefore, he could only pretend to be very hard-working and loafing. Great, thank you, Pang Siggy. After my husband recovers from his illness, he will definitely thank Pang Siggy. Madam Chui came over and thanked Chicken Bro. Chicken Bro's face did not show any expression, but his heart was curling his lips. Recover from his illness? He was afraid that Chui Shanyu's illness would not be cured. Anyway, he felt that Chui Shanyu was definitely not Li Zixuan's opponent. You're welcome. This is my duty. Then Madam Chui, we'll take our leave first. The other victims of the doctors still need this official to understand the situation. Chicken Bro cupped his hands. He could not stay here any longer. It was too smelly, but Madam Chui did not think so. In her opinion, Chicken Bro was dedicated. After looking at this house, he immediately went to inspect the next one. He was too dedicated. Then Pang Siggy has worked hard. Take care. And Chicken Bro pretended to end, but in his heart, he almost burst out laughing. Oh. Chapter 339. Father, how much money can our family take out right now? Li Zixuan didn't know that Chicken Bro was wiping his butt behind his back. Oh no, it should be wiping the buttocks of those kids he hired. After dinner in the evening, he called his parents to the study and planned to tell them about the matters regarding the academy. What's wrong? You don't have enough money? Li Jingma asked in surprise. Ever since Li Zixuan started his own business, his monthly income had exceeded even that of the head of the family. How could Li Jingma not be surprised that his son was asking for money? That's right. Xian did you run into some trouble recently? Madam Li asked with concern. Under normal circumstances, the concerns of parents were always different. Mother, I didn't run into any trouble. Don't worry. Li Zixuan smiled and comforted his mother. Then, he looked at his parents and sternly said, Father, I'm in the palace. Father, Mother, His Majesty summoned me to the palace today. I will resign from His Majesty. I will no longer serve in the Imperial College. What? Li Jingma and Mrs. Li's eyes widened upon hearing this, and they exclaimed in unison. Xian, did you do something wrong? Is that why His Majesty is having you resign? Li Jingma asked. His son had been conferred a noble title at the age of 14 and was a minister of the Imperial College. This was something that Li Jingma and Madame Li were proud of every morning. How could Li Jingma sit still when he heard that his son had resigned? Father, it's nothing. This child doesn't want to be a minister of the Imperial College anymore. This child wants to... Bastard. Before Li Zixuan could finish his explanation, Li Jingmo roared and interrupted him. You're about to start a family, so why are you still so fickle? Father told you long ago that being a minister of the Imperial College is a matter of great importance. His Majesty is willing to let you take on this responsibility because he values you. How can you be so greedy for fun and not know what's good for you? Hurry and apologize to His Majesty. Just say that you were confused this afternoon. Father, stop. It's not what you think. Li Zixuan saw that his father was getting more and more ridiculous, so he quickly interrupted him. I am resigning from His Majesty mainly so that I can focus on my studies in the future and bring my master's knowledge to greater heights. Father, Mother, 2 days ago, Chui Shanyu and the others from the Imperial College impeached me. The two of you must have heard about it, right? I'm still young, but I'm already in a high position in the Imperial College. It's inevitable that some people won't agree with me, and then they'll come and pick on me. Although I'm not afraid of them, I'm not willing to spend all my time scheming against them. It's too much of a waste of time. This Chui Shanyu is truly abominable. He can't compare to my Xian in terms of knowledge, so he's trying to pull you down from your horse using underhanded means. When I return, I'll instruct the servants in the manner that if they meet Chui Shanyu in the future, they're to ruthlessly spit in his face. Mother will reward you with 100 copper coins for every mouthful you spit out. After hearing this, Mrs. Li said somewhat sullenly, Li Zixuan sweated profusely. Sure enough, he was his mother's biological son. His idea was more or less the same, just that he did it more harshly. Both mother and son were rich and willful. Cough, cough. Li Jingma wanted to say something, but hesitated. At such a crucial moment, even if he had a different opinion, he didn't dare to voice it out. Otherwise, he would definitely suffer. He could only cough dryly and change the topic. Oh no, he changed the topic back. Xian, since you've already resigned, how are you going to focus on your studies? Father, I intend to invest my own money and build an academy. It'll be dedicated to imparting the knowledge that my master left behind. It'll also be a way to comfort my master's soul in heaven. His Majesty has already agreed. Li Zixuan replied. At the mention of spiritual master Ling Su, Li Jingma's expression immediately became solemn. The reason why their family could still be reunited was entirely due to spiritual master Ling Su's help back then. However, when he thought about how his son had actually jumped out of the Imperial College to set up an academy for himself, Li Jingma couldn't help but frown. Xian, you're really muddle-headed. What future does this academy have? How can it compare to the Imperial College? At this time, academies were not popular. Perhaps there would be private academies in 2s and 3s among the people, but they were only places where a few like-minded poor scholars gathered to discuss the Tao. They were not like some of the later government-run academies, which were specifically used to teach and educate people. The earliest government-run academies in China started in the 6th year of the Kaiyuan era of the Tang Dynasty. Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang Dynasty opened the Li Zheng Academy in the eastern capital of Luoyang. It wasn't until the Song Dynasty that academies truly began to flourish. During the northern Song Dynasty, there was even a saying that there were 4 great academies. Yingtian Fu Academy in Shangqiu, Hunan, Yuelu Academy in Changsha, Hunan, Bailu Cave Academy in Mount Lu, Jiangxi, and Sanyang Academy in Dangfeng, Hunan. However, in the early years of Xinguan, how could people have any grand impression of academies? Therefore, when Li Jingma heard that his son wanted to set up an academy for himself, he frowned. He couldn't be blamed for being old-fashioned. It was really a choice between the Imperial College and a common academy. Any normal person would choose the Imperial College. Li Zixuan's move was like a Tsinghua University professor who wanted to jump ship to a private academy to teach. It was hard for anyone to understand. Yes, Xian, how could a common academy be so easy to set up? When the time comes, we probably won't even be able to take in a single student. If you want your mother's opinion, it's fine if you resign from your position at the Imperial College. In the future, you should just stay at home and enjoy your life. Our family is rich and has a noble title. Why bother setting up an academy? Since ancient times, a loving mother would lead to a prodigal son. This saying wasn't for nothing. If Li Zixuan hadn't lived 2 lives, perhaps he really would have become a prodigal son under his mother's doting. Father, mother, you can't say that. Li Zixuan had expected his parents to object, but he hadn't expected them to have such a strong opinion of academies. He explained, the current academies of my great Tang can't compare to the Imperial College, but this doesn't mean that the academy I set up will be inferior to the Imperial College in the future. I decided to set up an academy mainly for 3 reasons. First, I don't want to waste time fighting with those rotten scholars. Second, the subjects set up in the current Imperial College can't allow me to impart all the knowledge that my master taught me. Third, in the eyes of those great scholars, my knowledge is all miscellaneous. If I were to teach them at the Imperial College, I would definitely be met with a storm of impeachment in the future. The 2 of you may think that the common academies of my great Tang are a mess now, but an academy set up by me will definitely be different. Today, in the palace, even His Majesty was very interested in my academy. If I wasn't unwilling, His Majesty would definitely have a hand in it. So, father, mother, do you still think that my academy has no future? In order to convince his parents as soon as possible, Li Zixuan had to use the tiger's skin and pull the banner of the air to appear more convincing. Xian, are you serious? Even His Majesty thinks highly of your academy? Madame Li asked in shock. Of course. When have I ever lied to you? Bastard. His Majesty wants to get involved, and you dare to disagree? I think you're getting more and more arrogant. Li Zixuan accidentally bragged too much. Li Jingma was so angry that his beard was blowing and his eyes were glaring. Chapter 340. Old Master, Xianer has grown up and has his own ideas. As his elders, we should support him. Mrs. Li was the first to change her attitude. She was now on Li Zixuan's side. In the end, she still loved her son dearly. Since that's the case, have you calculated how much it would cost to build an academy? After much persuasion, Father Li finally accepted Li Zixuan's plan to build an academy. At this moment, Li Jingma finally remembered that Li Zixuan was about to borrow money when he first entered the room. So he asked, "Father, I estimate that it would cost about 200,000 strings of cash to build the entire academy. However, I won't be able to finish it in the early stages. I plan to invest 100,000 strings of cash to build a place for the students to study, live, read, and play in." On the way back from the palace, Li Zixuan had already roughly estimated the amount of money needed to build the ideal academy in his mind. Therefore, he said, "Let's go." Puffed. Fortunately, Li Jingma was sitting down. Otherwise, he would have knelt down when he heard this number. How much? 200,000 strings of cash. Xian, are you building an academy or a palace? Li Jingma jumped in fright, his voice rising an octave as he exclaimed. In his opinion, the academies outside were just a courtyard and a few rooms. At most, it would cost a few hundred strings of cash to build one. How could it cost 200,000 strings of cash? In this era where prices were extremely low, even the emperor wouldn't need 200,000 strings of cash to build a palace. What he didn't know was that Li Zixuan planned to build an academy on the scale of a modern university. If that was the case, 200,000 strings of cash wouldn't be much. Perhaps some people would think that 200,000 strings of cash wouldn't be enough to build an academy on such a large scale. After all, the cost of a modern university was in the tens of billions. However, one had to consider the price of goods at the beginning of the Tang Dynasty. According to the price of goods, one string of cash at this time was equivalent to 4,000 to 5,000 yuan in the modern era. 200,000 strings of cash was equivalent to more than 80 billion yuan. Father, I'm not going to build an academy on a small scale. I plan to build an academy on par with the Imperial College. In the future, this academy will nurture hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of outstanding talents for the Tang Dynasty. Li Zixuan explained softly. When Li Jingma heard this grand plan, he was so shocked that he could not close his mouth. This big academy? Li Zixuan chuckled and continued. Father, although I've already been conferred a title, our family is still nothing compared to those real rich and powerful families. I don't have much ambition, and I've never thought of bullying anyone I want. I just want to become stronger so that others won't dare to bully our family. And if this academy is completed, it will complement your child's new philosophy and the knowledge that Master has imparted to your child. In the future, this academy will become our clan's most solid backing and foundation. Our Li clan will have a place in Chang, and perhaps even in the entire Great Tang. All of Chang, and even the Great Tang, will have a place for our Li clan. Li Zixuan's last sentence caused Li Jingma's breathing to quicken as it echoed in his mind. A moment later, Li Jingma stood up and patted Li Zixuan's shoulder as he sighed with emotion. Xianer, you've really grown up. You don't need your father and mother to worry about you anymore. Father can now rest assured and leave the family to you. Father will retire at home in the future. Li Zixuan hurriedly said, Father, you're still in the prime of your life. How can you say such things? Besides, didn't we agree that you'll hand over the family business to me in 2 years? Li Jingma waved his hand, not buying it. Father has made up my mind. Xianer, you don't need to persuade me anymore. In terms of foresight, courage, and management ability, Father can't compare to you now. Only you can bring our family to a higher position. Father will just stay at home and help you settle the accounts. Then he looked at Madame Li and said, I'll have more time to accompany you in the future. Father, Xin, don't try to persuade me anymore. Mother and your father both believe in you. We believe that you'll break out of this world in the future. Madame Li smiled lovingly. That's good. Your son has grown up. It's time for me to take on this responsibility. In the future, father and mother should rest more. Eat well, drink well, and play well. Your son doesn't ask for anything else. I just want you to be happy every day and live a long life. Our family will become the happiest in the Tang Dynasty in the future. Li Zishuan suddenly glanced at the few strands of white hair on his father's temples. His heart was touched. Perhaps he should have stood up long ago. Good. Mother and your father are still waiting to hold a grandson. You and Yushi have to hurry. When Mrs. Li heard this, she said with a smile. Li Zishuan was sweating profusely. Mother, we haven't even gotten married yet. Soon. Madame Li couldn't restrain the smile on her face when she thought of her son getting married in a few days. Ahem, Xian. Our family spent a large sum of money to buy chicken seedlings for the farmers. Later on, Xian, you set up the winery, the Strange Taste Pavilion, and the Strange Taste Culture. These are all very profitable. Now, the family can take out about 120,000 strings of cash. It's enough for you. Li Jingma's face was flushed red, as if he had become a few years younger. He briefly explained the family's current financial situation to Li Zishuan. Thank you, father. Li Zishuan breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was enough money for the first phase. Otherwise, he would have to think of other ways to raise money. That's right. After talking for so long, I still don't know the name of the college you're going to build. Madame Li interrupted. Mother, the name of the college will be Yanwang College. His Majesty has already agreed to personally inscribe a plaque for me. Really? His Majesty will personally inscribe a plaque? That's great. Xian, when the time comes, you have to send someone to guard the plaque. Don't let anyone steal it. Madame Li was pleasantly surprised. Li Zishuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mother, you're thinking too much. Who would dare to steal a plaque inscribed by His Majesty himself? You still have to take care of it. Oh, that's right. Why is the college called Yanwang College? What does Yanwang mean? Madame Li was puzzled. Descendants of Yanwang first came from the Guoyu, Zhou Yuxia. The emperor was blessed by the heavens. He was bestowed with the surname Si and the name Yuxia. His surname was lost, and he died without power. He had no descendants and was buried in the name of Li. How could a deceased husband not be favored? They were all descendants of Huang and Yan. However, terms such as descendants of Yanwang and descendants of the Yellow Emperor were rarely used in ancient times. The reason probably had to do with the fact that the ancient China people had a weaker sense of nationality. They revered the two emperors of Yin and Huang more because of their culture than their bloodline. The term descendants of Yanwang had a smaller scope of reference. Ancient China was a dynastic country, not a nation-state in the modern sense. At the end of the Qing dynasty, the concept of descendants of Yanwang spread more widely along with the construction of China's nationalism. The early revolutionaries who rebelled against the Manchus at the end of the Qing dynasty used the slogan descendants of Yanhuang, descendants of the Yellow Emperor, to gain the support of the Han people. The radical revolutionaries believed that descendants of Yanhuang, only Han people. The moderate reformists believed that all of China are descendants of the Yellow Emperor. Therefore, it was understandable that Madame Li didn't know about the concept of descendants of Yanhuang. Chapter 341. Without a master, the descendants will be annihilated. How can a dead husband not be loved? Both are descendants of Huang and Yan. Xin'er used these two words as the name of the academy. Are you trying to say that we are all descendants of Yin and Huang? Li Jingma thought for a moment and figured out where the descendants of Yin and Huang came from. Although he was just a merchant, ever since he had some success in business and settled down, he began to read up on history and classics in his free time. Thus, he was more knowledgeable than Li Zixuan when it came to the 4 books and 5 classics. Li Zixuan was still in a state of confusion when he heard his mother's question. When he gave the name of the academy, he thought that everyone would know that it was descendants of Yin and Huang. However, looking at his mother's state, it was clearly not like that. When he heard his father mention a literary phrase, Li Zixuan heaved a sigh of relief. He was really lucky. Fortunately, he didn't know which book recorded something similar. Otherwise, wouldn't he have to work hard to cover up his lie? Yes, that's what it means. Father, you are really knowledgeable. The Yin and Huang emperors are the ancestors of the Han people. I think that people of the Central Plains can all be called descendants of Yin and Huang. In the future, the enrollment requirements for my academy are that no matter rich or poor, as long as you are a descendant of Yin and Huang, you can enroll. Once you enroll, you must remember that you are a descendant of Yin and Huang and never forget your roots. Li Zixuan obviously didn't read the Mandarin, but since his father took the initiative to explain it for him, there was no reason for him not to agree. Then let's leave it at that for now. Xian'er, your mother and I will go back to rest first. Li Jingma was very pleased to be praised for being knowledgeable by his son, who seemed to be very high up in the Imperial College. He laughed and pulled his wife's hand, preparing to go back to sleep. All right, father, don't go yet. I forgot to tell you and my mother something. Li Zixuan hurriedly stretched out his hand and said, What is it? Li Jingma asked casually. He had just passed on the responsibility of being the head of the family to his son and was now without an official position. He was even more relaxed than Li Zixuan. Today, His Majesty also told me that when I resign in 10 days, His Majesty will promote me to be the crown prince again and confer me the title of Jinziguang Lu Daifu. Li Zixuan said, What? Crown Prince Zhan Shi, Dr. Jin Ziguanglu? Li Jingma was no longer calm. He originally thought that after Li Zixuan resigned from the Imperial College, he would only have the title of Baron in name. He never expected that there would be the even higher ranking titles of Crown Prince Zhan Shi and Jinziguang Lu Daifu. He and his wife were just lamenting over Li Zixuan's resignation. Xian'er, is what you said true? Mrs. Li looked at Li Zixuan excitedly and asked. Li Zixuan nodded. Of course it's true, Mother. His Majesty is the Emperor of the 9 and 5. Of course, his words carry enormous weight. Why didn't you say so earlier? You made us worry about your future for nothing. Li Jingma couldn't bring himself to be happy. He said angrily, Father, I forgot just now. Forgot? Li Jingma was almost angered to death. He pointed at Li Zixuan and was about to scold him again when Mrs. Li hurriedly stopped him. All right, old master, Xian'er is going to be promoted. What are you still dissatisfied with? Let's go, it's getting late. It's time to rest. Li Jingma snorted and flicked his sleeves. He then turned around and followed his wife to rest. Li Zixuan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have said it. The next day, Li Zixuan arrived at the Imperial College's School of Mathematics early in the morning. Counting the days, he had less than 5 days left at the School of Mathematics. Although he told Li Er yesterday that he would resign in 10 days, he still had to get married in the meantime. It would probably take a lot of time. After teaching here for more than a month, Li Zixuan was really reluctant to leave. There were 45 students in the School of Mathematics. Li Huiren came yesterday. Li Zixuan remembered the names of the 45 students in the School of Mathematics. He even remembered their exam results in his heart. To be honest, he had poured too much effort into this batch of students. This time, when he was running his own school, he really wanted to bring this batch of students over. Of course, that was definitely impossible. Compared to the Imperial College, his school wasn't that attractive. After all, the Imperial College was the highest school run by the Tang Empire's government. Therefore, Li Zixuan knew very well that if half of these students were willing to go with him, he would be very satisfied. Thinking of this, Li Zixuan felt a little sad. Perhaps this was the sad parting of sentiments since ancient times. Master, what's wrong? Iron Egg asked curiously. It was rare to see his master looking a little sad. He stood behind Li Zixuan and asked curiously. Haha, nothing. Iron Egg, you've been studying in the School of Mathematics for so long. What do you think of it? Lisa Schwan asked lightly. Oh, it's pretty good. The schoolmates here are all very friendly, and many of them are very strong. Iron Egg thought for a while and answered. Lisa Schwan nodded. Iron Egg was right. The most important feature of the School of Mathematics now was that there were many experts. It could be said that the students in the School of Mathematics could basically dominate a region in the field of mathematics. Ah, Iron Egg, you should cherish your time in the School of Mathematics these days. Lisa Schwan patted Iron Egg's shoulder and then turned to enter the classroom. He saw that there were already a few students not far away who were walking towards them. As his personal disciple, Iron Egg would of course follow him to Yanhuang College in the future. That was why he said that. Oh, why, Master? Iron Egg was dumbfounded. He hurriedly chased after Lisa Schwan and asked, Hey, Chumo, I brought 2 persimmons today. This is the Qingzhou lotus persimmon. It's very sweet. Do you want one? During the break in the morning, Wang Ming ran to Cheng Chumo's seat with 2 big yellow persimmons in his hands and said with a sneaky smile. This guy's voice was relatively loud. The rest of the students in the classroom immediately looked over. When Cheng Chumo heard this, he immediately thought of the prank that Wang Ming played on him in the classroom yesterday. His face turned red, white, purple, and black. He endured it and finally couldn't take it anymore. He said furiously, Damn, come on my ass. Wang Ming, you King deserve a beating. Before he finished speaking, Cheng Chumo's big fist greeted Wang Ming's body. Ow, damn, Cheng Chumo, how can you be so ungrateful? I kindly gave you persimmons to eat. It's fine if you don't want to eat them, but why are you hitting me? Cheng Chumo's fist was dodged by Wang Ming. However, Wang Ming deliberately pretended to be in pain and cried out in grievance. This guy was really a drama queen when it came to acting. Eat your mother's persimmons. From now on, you're not allowed to mention persimmons in front of me. Cheng Chumo was even more furious. This guy was now traumatized by persimmons. Haha, this bunch of clowns. Lisa Schwan, who was sitting in the RV outside the classroom, curled his lips and shook his head when he heard the commotion in the classroom. Chapter 342. Is Lisai inside? Just as Lisa Schwan was lamenting about the idiots in the Institute of Mathematics, an aged voice came from outside the carriage. If one listened carefully, they could tell that it was Kong Ingda. Chancellor, is something the matter? Lisa Schwan pulled open the curtains and jumped down from the carriage. He stood in front of Kong Ingda and asked indifferently. Not sure if it was an illusion, Lisa Schwan felt that there were more wrinkles at the corner of Kong Ingda's eyes. Lisai, can I have a word with you? Have a word with you? Lisa Schwan felt that this sentence was very familiar. In his previous life, there would often be rows and rows of fellow Taoists. Can I have a word with you? Email 110 ****9 at QQ.com. Divine replies. Cough, cough. I didn't expect Kong Ingda to be an old hand and need a word with me. This Chancellor class is going to start soon. I'm afraid it's not very convenient. Even an old hand can't affect my class. Even though Lisa Schwan had some opinions about Kong Ingda, he wasn't purposely evading this time. He was about to jump out of the directorate and establish his own school. Thus, he cherished the last chance to teach the students. It won't take long. I'll leave after I'm done. Kong Ingda frowned. According to his understanding of this fellow in front of him, he didn't believe that Lisa Schwan would love to teach. Sigh, I reckon this fellow still hates me in his heart. Kong Ingda thought. All right then. Chancellor, go take a seat. Lisa Schwan saw that he couldn't evade and could only agree. He turned his head and instructed Sanbao. Sanbao, go to the classroom and let the students study by themselves after class. I'll be right there. Yes, young master. Sanbao responded and ran off. Kong Ingda looked at Lisa Schwan in astonishment, not understanding why this fellow was suddenly so dedicated. Lisai, Chancellor, you better not call me Sai. Just call me Little Xian. I have already submitted my resignation to His Majesty yesterday. 10 days from now, I will no longer be an official of the directorate. Inside the carriage, Kong Ingda and Li Zixuan sat opposite each other. Just as he was about to speak, Li Zixuan interrupted him. Kong Ingda was shocked. What? You resigned from the directorate? Li Zixuan poured a cup of warm tea for old Kong and nodded. Yes, that's right. You. Kong Ingda's expression suddenly became very complicated. There was regret, anger, and a trace of regret. After a long while, Kong Ingda finally opened his mouth. Are you quitting in a fit of pique? What I said yesterday may be unfair, but it's not as if there's no room for negotiation. Why are you acting like this? I'm already so old, and I was planning to recommend you to His Majesty for the position of Chancellor in a few years. I didn't expect you to tell. In truth, the conversation yesterday had nothing to do with right or wrong. It was just a matter of different standpoints. As the Chancellor, Kong Ingda naturally had to consider the reputation of the directorate first, followed by personal honor and disgrace. Although Li Zixuan understood, he could not accept it. Just as he had said before, he did not need to wrong himself for other people's reasons. Haha, many thank for Chancellor's favor, but those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. In the eyes of many people, what this child has learned does not belong to the orthodox Confucian school. If he continues to stay in the directorate, he will definitely be accused of privately imparting miscellaneous knowledge. Perhaps only by leaving the directorate can this child's knowledge be put to greater use. Li Zixuan looked at this old man who had devoted his entire life to the education of the great Tang and solemnly spoke. Kong Ingda deeply frowned at these words and unhappily said, although mathematics does not belong to the Confucian school, ever since Lu Hui and Zhu Chongji of the Wei, Jin, and northern and southern dynasties created the circular cutting art and obtained the ratio of pi, mathematics has become a system of its own. It has played an extremely important role in the lives of the common people. In the previous dynasty, the Imperial College was even taught a subject of mathematics. Thus, how can mathematics be considered a miscellaneous subject? Li Zixuan pursed his lips and smiled. Haha, Chancellor, you're right to think this way, but in the eyes of many people, all other learning besides Confucianism is a miscellaneous subject. Kong Ingda froze in his seat, momentarily speechless. He knew that Li Zixuan was speaking the truth. Confucianism had dominated for nearly 1,000 years, and many disciples of the Confucian school boasted that they were a cut above the rest. Kong Ingda more or less understood this. Unlike other great Confucians, Kong Ingda had always been very tolerant of different schools of thought. Throughout Kong Ingda's life, he had always strived to eliminate sectarian views within the Confucian school, to abandon the regional prejudice between northern and southern schools, to accommodate the 100 schools, and to fuse the north and south. But when faced with the bad habits of the Confucian school, Kong Ingda could only express his helplessness. You say that you want to jump out of the Imperial College, but have you thought about where you want to go? What plans does His Majesty have for you? Kong Ingda asked. His Majesty has already permitted this child to establish his own academy to teach the miscellaneous subjects that some people believe to be a part of. After some thought, Li Zixuan spoke the truth. Establishing your own academy? Kong Ingda called out in alarm. He was not like Li Zixuan yesterday, who had immediately dismissed the academy's prospects. After working together with Li Zixuan for so long, he had a very clear understanding of Li Zixuan's teaching abilities. In the near future, Li Zixuan's academy really might succeed. Are you planning to establish your own academy to compete with the Imperial College? Kong Ingda thought of the meaning behind Li Zixuan establishing his own academy. Chancellor, you really think highly of this child. This child only established this academy to spread the knowledge of my master. I have never thought of competing with anyone. Li Zixuan laughed. Although he did have such a plan in his heart, there was still no sign of his academy. There was no need to start bragging at this moment. Kong Ingda looked at Li Zixuan suspiciously. In his heart, he really did not believe Li Zixuan's nonsense just now. Chancellor, if there is nothing else, this child will go and teach the students. Li Zixuan looked out of the window at the School of Mathematics and Mathematics outside, and said to Kong Ingda, "Then you go. This old man hopes that no matter where you are, you must stick to your heart. Whether it is miscellaneous subjects or Confucian studies, as long as you think it is useful to the students, you can teach it well. This old man looks forward to the day when your academy will shine." Kong Ingda stood up and said with emotion, "Thank you for your kind words. This child will not forget his heart and carry forward the knowledge of my master to greater heights." Li Zixuan clasped his hands at Kong Ingda and turned to walk toward the School of Mathematics and Mathematics. This child has a fierce tiger in his heart, establishing his own academy, the fierce tiger returning to the mountain. In the future, what kind of surprise will his academy bring to His Majesty, the Imperial Court, and the Tang Empire? Kong Ingda looked at Li Zixuan's back and muttered to himself with mixed feelings. Chapter 343. Young Master, Steward Ma just sent someone to invite you to the workshop in the afternoon. After the morning classes, Li Zixuan returned home and was greeted by the doorkeeper, Ah Fu. "Did he say why he want me to go to the workshop?" Li Zixuan asked in bewilderment. "Young Master, I don't know. That person didn't say." "Okay, I got it." Li Zixuan waved his hand and walked in. He guessed that Ma Zhou was looking for him because there was something wrong with the newspaper. With a lot on his mind, Li Zixuan ate his lunch hastily and took a break. Then, without even taking a nap, he took his private car and went to the workshop. Got it. The streets were empty at noon. This was the hottest time of the day. Most people would not come out if there was no urgent matter. On the ginkgo trees by the roadside, there were groups of cicadas singing to their heart's content. They seemed to be telling the story of the summer heat. Li Zixuan did not feel the heat in the carriage. There were many ice cubes in his carriage, and he was even holding a cup of iced tea in his hand. At this time, the superiority of the rich was reflected. After arriving at the workshop, Li Zixuan went straight to the back office, the Tang Daily's editorial department. He saw Ma Zhou instructing a few people to organize the manuscripts. Li Zixuan walked forward and shouted, "Brother Ma! Hey, Lord Zhu, you're here so soon?" Ma Zhou turned around and said in surprise. He thought that Li Zixuan would definitely wait until evening on such a hot day. "Yes, I heard that you had something to do here, so I came over." "What's wrong?" "Brother Ma, why are you looking for me?" Li Zixuan looked around and found that there was nothing unusual in the editorial department. He asked curiously, "Oh, Lord Zhu, you're Li Sai Li Xianan, right?" Ma Zhou was about to explain when he was interrupted by a slightly old voice. Li Zixuan looked up and saw an old man in his 70s or 80s walk out of a house next door. The old man had a head full of white hair, and his tawny face looked as if it had been soaked in water. His eyes were so narrow that he had to exert a great deal of effort to keep them open. In this era where medical technology was extremely backward, it was really rare to be able to live to such an old age. Li Zixuan knew the room where the old man came out. It was the office for the grand secretaries who came to help compile the Tang dictionary. But he had never seen this old man before. "That's right. How should I address you, sir?" Li Zixuan bowed respectfully. The ancients were 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, 50 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, and 70 years old. Old people usually had a higher social status, and the imperial court would also have some government orders to support the elderly. Regardless of the identity of the old man in front of him, just his age alone was worthy of respect. After all, to be able to live to such an old age, he had already surpassed 99% of the people in Tang Dynasty. "I'm Li Gang." The old man walked to Ma Zhou's side and answered with his hands behind his back. F***CK. Li Gang? The unluckiest teacher in history. Li Gang, who was known as the Crown Prince's killer? Li Zixuan was shocked. He did not expect to meet such a great person on a trip out. He knew a little about Li Gang's deeds. It was said that this old man had experienced the North Zhou, Sui, and Tang dynasties. He could be said to be a senior official of 3 dynasties. What was even more amazing was that he had also served as the teacher of the Sui Yang Jian Crown Prince Yang Yong. the Tang Li Yuan crown Prince Li Jiansheng, and the Tang Li Shimin crown Prince Li Chengxian. However, the tragedy was that these three crown princes in history did not have a good ending. Therefore, Li Gang in history also had the title of Crown Prince Killer. Lord Zhu, Mr. Li Gang also contributed a lot to the compilation of the Tang Dictionary. But you were not there when he came the last few times. Ma Zhou was worried that Li Zishuan did not know Li Gang, so he explained in a low voice. Oh, it's Master Li. Sorry for the disrespect. Brother Ma, let someone serve tea. Li Zishuan hurriedly cupped his hands in greeting. What Master Li? This old man has retired for many years. Li Sai, don't be mistaken. Li Gang said curiously. In the second year of Wuda, Li Gang asked to resign due to old age. Li Yuan agreed to remove him from his position as minister and continue to be the crown prince's junior guardian. Li Yuan thought that Li Gang was a famous minister of the Sui dynasty. When he personally wrote the edict, he never called him by his name. Ah, you. Li Zishuan was dumbfounded. In his previous life, he had read many novels that crossed over to the Tang dynasty. Among them, there were many that mentioned Li Gang. Didn't they all say that Li Gang was the crown prince's master? But looking at it now, this old man obviously had not become Li Chengxian's teacher yet. In reality, after Li Gang retired, it was not until the fourth year of Jingguan that Li Er invited him out of the mountain to be the crown prince's master and teach the crown prince Li Chengxian. But regrettably, in the fifth year of Jingguan, Li Gang died of old age at the age of 85. Li Er posthumously bestowed upon him the title of Minister of Ceremonies. Cough, cough, this young one speaks insolently. Please don't blame him, don't blame him. Please come in, please come in. Since things had already come to this, Li Zishuan could not explain anything. He could not say that he had been the crown prince's master before and would be the crown prince's master for the rest of his life, right? If he dared to say that, Li Gang would definitely kill him. After all, Li Gang's previous student was the hidden crown prince, Li Jiansheng. In the current Tang Dynasty, who would dare to mention Li Jiansheng's name? Hence, he could only laugh it off and let this matter pass for now. TSK, TSK. This was the result of thinking that he was clever. It just so happens that this old man has something to say to you. Li Gang did not suspect anything. He nodded lightly and followed Li Zishuan and Ma Zhou to a side hall beside the editorial department of the Tang Daily. After the servants served tea and left, only the three of them were left in the room. Beside them, there was a block of ice that was emitting wisps of cold air. Li Sai is really rich and overbearing. In such a big workshop, I'm sure there are many rooms that use ice to cool down, right? Li Gang joked and took a sip of tea. Then, he frowned and said, Tui, you're still serving me hot tea in this weather? You're too stingy. This old man knows that you have good wine. Yes, it's that drunken immortal or something. Hurry up and give me a pot. It's best if you put some ice in it. Li Zishuan's mouth twitched. You're almost 80 years old, aren't you? Who would dare to serve you drunken immortal? If something bad happened to you, this young master would not be able to explain himself even if he had 8 mouths. It was said that ancient scholars loved wine. Li Zishuan finally had a better understanding today. This King good wine was so good that one would even throw away one's life. It's not that I don't want to use it. The main thing is that the drunken immortal is too strong and can easily harm the body. This young one should get someone to send you a pot of iced and warm wine. Li Zishuan was speechless. Oh, all right then. Li Gang did not know how to refute and could only reply with slight disappointment. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.